ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. Cyberpunk, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. Megadel, cyberpunk technology such as cyberbots. Check the rhymes I concoct, private stock. While you jock, I set up ultra security for MC intelligence who wanna murder me. It's like the third degree the way I question my sanity. I work on cybernetics as a form of vanity. To protect my circuitry, I stay under the canopy. I sent for special chips to finish my fantasy. To become a bionic commando, monitor scandals. Solar panels reflect, energy enters me. MC synergy in the 21st century, soldering temporary. Fusible alloys like musical cowboys. Strictly bomb raps, capable of alien contact. With rhyme packs, create galactic soundtracks. Profound facts that were classified info for several decades by the CIA. Or now pedal death codes on the internet, the sinner's flesh. I smoke a pinner of bless and can't remember next. Transmission control, you better listen to your soul when the carbon-based creatures connect with technology. Brand new species devoid of ecology. Totally electronic, they monitor and follow me. Cyberpunks, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. Cyberpunks, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. And the microchip is missing.
Oh my God.
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 Escape the cold flu, still down with kung fu. Back then they hung you, but now they fund you. I touch the escape key, a blue light envelops me, covers me with energy and sucks me in the screen. I met Tron, he said don't let on about the cyber universe, cause you the first human to discover us. Neon lasers, colorful photons, I felt like Voltron, my hands turned to silver, probably would've killed ya. I just lost my sanity, my brain was enhanced with super intelligence. True to the elements, bestowed with a charge beam. Victory was our theme, pack more silicon than sardines. Transform into a plane like Starscream. Cyberpunk rocking the mic with auto-targeting. Fifth element, the strength of 6 elephants. It was miraculous the way they patched me in. Equipped with electric grenades, testing my phaser. I melted some glaciers. Wow, this is great stuff. Power with voltage, a technophile armed with explosives. Missiles, a crystallizer to freeze them seas and then shatter them with super bass. Test around, relentless pound, hits the ground like an asteroid. A metal behemoth, more than you could dream of. A Marvel team up for both sides of the brain. Transmuted to my physical form to ride the train. My eyes had a neon green glow, I seen foes. Instruments of destruction meant for hunting. Cyberpunks, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. Cyberpunks, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. Controlling cyberspace like a girl's private place. With a chastity belt, I has to be felt. Futuristic crucifixion, superdiction. With computer victims, terminated due to symptoms from viruses. Sophisticated and bizarre, enthralling. I even serve smart drinks at the bar. Bonsai, mechanical tentacles hog-tied. The small fry who tried to hog the mic. You saw the light, took all the stripes. Stop the spine thieves that I perceive when my optics turn lime green. In this industrial environment, there's certain requirements. The mental training that helps you see the Leviathan. I'm piloting a giant mecha in my private sector. My invisible force fields of core shields. The inner sanctum, better do the interface. Master programmers create aircraft that look like dinner plates. The Zen tried, he mobbed me. I did a concert on their planet for 5Gs. Space, the last frontier. Enough to make you pass on beer, weed, hallucinogenics, or speed. Cyberpunks, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once. Cyberpunks, Megadel, ultraviolence is what I adjust. Future phenomena, you need to try it once.
Kuwait, do or die shit. Coming from the bridge, Kuwait, do or die shit. Yo, my gun burn like acid. Your flesh chastised, little worm ass maggot nigga thinking he more fly. Gaddafi lines is justifiable. Homicide, green paper, demonic faces. Money haunts me. I don't talk much when it's beef. I'm just a known creep. Nocturnal scope in the desert, cover the whole beak. So when I spit black talent, you hear my bird speak. Only bird your bird ass see is when you type a tweet. Mock day, Grand Padre, machete your teeth. Casually, I pull out blade and wipe it spit on your cheek. Tiffany Green Air Maxes, 9.5 classics. Mockty, Frank Matthews, crime praying mantis. Lay on the track like I swallowed 1,000 Xanaxes. And you should never ask questions if you don't want the answers.
Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. LIC, that old fly shit. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Told me everything that you said, little bastard.
Tarzan, animal sounds over the loudspeaker. Attica demon, CO named preacher. We the gorillas, you more timid, Wiz Khalifa. A'udhu billahi min shaitanir rajim. Info on the barrel, the bullets follow the beam. Now your grave is a pavement, swallowing your dreams. 30-30, 1/3 of me, all you see is G. Hang rappers from rosary beads, slowly he deceased. Dick blower, I'm Champola with pistola. Battery back holder, mock the energy of solar. Cleopatra, Caesar, Solomon and Sheba. Behind every king's fall is a foul diva. Ice on my neck, chest feeling like a freezer. Heavy, leaving me leaning like the Tower of Pisa. Say less, Gaddafi beast. Raw meat, pull up, bitch, hop in the front. She in the wrong seat. Bet I make sure her ass in the floor me. Get the 440 your back like you Reggie Jack. More than that, 44 caliber killer over track. Golden era terrorized rap, and that's a Snapple fact. Red top shotgun shells are still with mega crack.
Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. LIC, that old fly shit. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Across the planet. Gaddafi, 252 across the planet. Told me everything that you said, little bastard. Little bastard.
Yo, son. I want to hear his dad. Hold up. That's what I like to hear him talk to.
Niggas dead on arrival, hand on the Bible. Bet I be the last nigga that you ever lie to. What nigga lying you when anybody round you? Life's no value, take a look around you. All we see is dead people, we're all thirst equal. Look at the Grim Reaper, repo life, take yours and that's that. And damn near do anything for more stacks. With all that said, they walking without that. But that did said, you fool without rats. Who the livest nigga, we pick him out of the batch. Wash him up, song about it, this is savage rap. Throw an H on your chest, nigga, handle that. Tryna figure where you sleep, I had your man do that. It's a cold world, nervy, you not rocking the thermal. Keep your mouth shut, especially when shit don't concern you. I got goons on Troy Ave down to Fran Lewis. Anybody fucking with snitches, we call it rag grooming. Yeah, so you could keep that moving. I'm all niggas for death, don't let me start tattooing.
First a dynasty break up, now every day I wake up. Rappers want me to prove I can still bang something. Like cousin turned punk all of a sudden. Like suddenly I'm soft like erectile dysfunction. You niggas is truly bugging, trying to act all fly. But y'all crabs on my ball sack, hitching free rides. I know you try and use me for publicity. Use a stunt man, jump into the fire, use a beast. Use the illest nigga in Omaha, you take me for an easy lick. I see you real naive, yeah, you powered by lithium, all charged up. Plus that Superman juice got you feeling it. Yo, niggas wanna move on me and make history and make TMZ. And this is 50, that's the kamikaze mission, I'm commander-in-chief. You hit Obama, guess what happened to you after you swing? Hey, yo, dog shit, you play yourself, you gon' get curved. I'll let you know right now, whatever it is you heard from these bird-ass thugs, stay chirping my name. You get yourself heard bad, push me to display strength, power, force. What is it that you thought? I'll be lying in my songs? Nigga, I'm a boss, you deal with my employees. I got a couple freelance niggas that enjoy me. Niggas won't play chess, I don't even play games. But I do got a few queens niggas stay banging. 5-star flags, 6-star rags. I will drop bodies, but I'd rather drop bags. You should know the bandana dawn. Run rap marathon tracks around any rapper. They never last long. That's why they always won't go at me. They know they want the top slot. They gotta beat the top dog.
Yeah, welcome to The Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And sorry, I gotta catch my breath. I was running around there real quick. I appreciate you guys for being here. And I'm gonna look at the chat in a minute. But yeah, blessings to all the people that are here. We're here to talk about the foundations of, you know, what we would consider architectonic, right? And look at how civilization grew to be a world technological system. And of course, we have some ideas here that I'd like to start opening the show with, if I can. And if I could just hack into this real quick and make sure my camera's still on. Yeah, so one of the things
it's on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so one of the things I've penned down here is this is the Machine Lies, right? Where basically I talk about machines, how human beings have lost control of the machines, how the machines are being used to deceive the great mass of humanity. For this reason, I spend the first 2 hours focusing on Jacques Ellul, because he explains how the system can become autonomous. Most people are still under the delusion that we control the machines and that technology is basically good. Once we free them from this delusion, we can begin to enlist their support to overthrow the rule of the machines. Machines and tools have a cross-cultural genealogy that is not mastered by the individual. We use tools, we operate machines. The machine transforms human society by getting man to organize society at the level of techniques and to the efficiency of the use of machines. Who are the people that are using machines to control others? It's pretty clear that the people who create the machines are themselves conditioned by the use of machines, right? We'd love to hear an example of who the controllers are, you know, in this realm. Okay, well, aim our critiques there then. You know, but since we are in a precarious situation of being placed in a world technological system, and it's technological innovation, okay, and post-human technical intent that is guiding the entire movement, right? So how do we, you know, get trapped in this position? I mean, I have another couple of lines I penned the other day. And let me actually zoom in on this page right here. And actually, I'm going to be going through some of my writings, recent writings, over the next few streams, right? I have three pieces that I've composed. Yeah, I have 3 pieces that I've composed. And, you know, a long time ago, I actually wrote this. So I mean, we'll see how much it resonates today. But pieces of a new book that I'm writing and some of the stuff from my old book. You know, but you know, before we get to that, so we're writing a book on technological society, right? Since we've just completed one, but here are some of the lines, okay, from Twitter. I said, liberalism permitted the development of its executioner, Jacques Ellul, Technological Society, page 200, right? So the liberal ideology, all right, universalism, right? The ideas of the archetypal man, the ideas of the myth of progress, the pseudo-eschatology of progress, the ideas of compartmentalization of knowledge and the rule of experts, okay, and the rule of efficiency. Efficiency for the sake of efficiency. The circular goal, okay? And Yeah. So as I've stated, the ideas of universalism and progress gave birth to their executioner, the world technological system, and scientific totalitarianism. Hence, a slave give birth to his master, right? As we saw, right? That is a saying by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, right? But yeah, up here it says the fruits of knowledge are not value neutral. So this is a very important statement that I'd like you all to comprehend. And this has been the main focus of my last presentation, my last almost entire presentation. Okay, we were talking about why the fruits of knowledge are not value neutral. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge is a trap. It's how we got into this problem, right? I mean, it's cliche, but thinking cannot solve the problems thinking has created. We're stuck in a realm of paralysis by analysis, right? And so, yeah, the fruits of knowledge are not value neutral. Let's get this, whatever this ugly motherfucking thing is. Yuck. Post-analytic. Disgusting. Why the fuck would I want that? Post-analytics. Let's exit that out so they know how we really feel. Get that out of here. The fruits of knowledge are not value neutral. All right, my friends? And that is mainly... Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It's either virtuous or vice. I mean, it
Oh,
isn't.
yeah.
There's no neutrality in that regard.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's in the realm of virtuous action. And that's where the realm of faith is. It's in the realm of virtuous action. You know, wisdom is this thing hanging on the soul, and virtue is the currency of the soul. Right? To quote Plato. Right? But yeah, if you do virtuous acts, the difference of what you achieve in the world, right, and what you hope to accomplish, right, that is wisdom. Right? So faith is in action. It's also in intuition. Right? So that is what I would like to say. Right? I would like to compare faith to knowledge. Okay. And see what I get, right? Because obviously people have overplayed the importance of knowledge, right? They've underplayed the importance of faith, or thumos, or the heart chakra, right? And that is one of the secrets of materialism, right? Really, gross materialism, right? As they like to say, right? Not gross materialism to distinguish from the philosophical sense, not people who want a lot of stuff. Everybody wants a lot of stuff. But yeah, as I said earlier, Lewis Mumford once wrote that man is a symbol-making animal. Right? I said a myth is a mediator between a metaphor and the real thing. A metaphor is too fleeting and reality is too tactile. But a myth is something that outlives time, stretches across cultural peculiarities. Right? So symbolic techniques, right? They were a vehicle for cultural assimilation. Right? That's why technique, I mean, that's why, you know, technique is really almost three things, right? It's like symbols, language, and machines. Right? All three of those things have to do with crafting things, right? Okay, craft, right? And of course, what creates, creates, as we like to say here, right? But yeah, you know, so we're looking at the religious sensibility of man, okay, the realm of mythos, as it's colloquially referred to, right, at the end, in the anthropological sense, right? Mythos, right? Well, we're developing a mythos for mechanos, right? I mean, most people do have faith in science. It's very true, right? They expect things to work even though they don't understand them, right? Okay, you push that button, this is going to happen. That's faith. It's like Martin Luther King said, faith is literally looking at, you know, taking the next step before you see the next step on the staircase, right? It's just that easy. You know, so it's another aspect of knowledge, and maybe common sense would be part of the faith, you know, thing. And so is sort of rhetoric, right, as a aid to logic, right? And so is organization as an aid to communication, right? So anyways, we're looking at the foundations of knowledge, and I will say a lot more about this recently. I've procured quite a few, you know, I think missing pieces, I would say, you know, right in my own thought process. I mean, I've recuperated, right? Yeah. But I'm also dealing with tons of emotional strife, as it were. So it will be a while till I'm fully functional again. I mean, but yeah, the words of the wise and their dark sayings. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. Yes, the fools despise wisdom and instruction. Oh yeah. There's nothing new under the sun. Also aligned by Solomon. Fear not of man, for fear of man causeth snares. Lean not on your own understanding. Pluck your right eye if it offend thee. Pluck it out and cast it from thee. Man cannot serve two masters, and a house divided cannot stand. So all the divisions come from within. Anyways. And also from fear of things that are outside of you. But yeah, mankind was more religious and political to begin with. Mankind was more artistic than scientific at the outstart. Right? So how did we move from a culture of religion and art to a system of politics and science? Right. This has a lot to do with the changes that culminated in Europe in the 16th century, but it's not exclusive to those changes. Okay, as I've taken a great deal of time to explain in this text here. I mean, but anyways, let me go on. Right, religious imagination, historical narrative, and philosophical outlook provide the basis for most of our political and cultural experience. Religion itself is perhaps a mediation and deliberation between practical mysticism and historical legend. This dialectical suspension rests in its indelible quality and capacity to provide us with the height of man's potential, but also the spiritual anguish of the most depraved and tortured psyche, but also a distinct political character. Right, we're talking about the theopolitical system. Right, as Skolmowski said, knowledge was in service of values, and now knowledge reigns with no equal. Right, values' entire existence is discounted. It's not even just put in subservience of knowledge. Science and politics are a subset of art. Oh yeah, the architecton. And I will actually say that everything is a subset of art. Tomorrow, okay, I think that light and sound and math and logic and all these things are diminutions of the artistic mind Now, you could call it basically, call it God if you want. You can call it nature if you want. Doesn't matter for the argument. But yeah, I learned that from Avicenna. he said if the necessary existent doesn't turn out to be God, it's just make it the universe. It says it's fine.
That's interesting.
It's an interesting move, isn't it? He said it doesn't matter if you say it's the universe, it still works. The argument still works. Oh yeah, folks. So yeah, but out of the travails of so-called subconscious delusionment, a word I created, we have the crystallization of man's thoughts in religion, culture, philosophy, politics, and history. These are the architectonic arts, or the arts that give rise to all other arts. Labeled thus largely because they provide us with the basis for the other arts and sciences. They provide not only the background, but also the foreground in terms of what is possible for man to achieve in the future. In order to study the question with clarity, one must simply get rid of one's scientific and religious dogma. One is neither to rely on the cold, sterile, and detached philosophical eunuch of science with its insipid material reductionism, or the fatalistic tinge of accepted first principles that are too abstract. So we leave it to God. If faith can mean anything, then it must mean acceptance of a challenge. The challenge is to question and refine one's own set of beliefs, trusting in God to bring one back to the center. Faith is not a tandem. Hopefulness and radical openness, or a bitter calculation of fatalism. Faith comes after the game of knowledge is played, and not before it begins. While the skeptic is always waiting for all the facts to come in, the man of faith must go with what he knows. He says to himself, if I can only be me, then I must test myself. Faith is an understanding of what one has been given the opportunity to create. The opportunity to create. Faith can be associated with the end of deliberation when one chooses to act. Faith is an inference to the best explanation after all the data comes in. Faith takes time to bring in all the data. Patience is a virtue and knowledge is a commercial. Right? Knowledge, knowledge is just an advertisement for what has to be done. Knowledge is neutral, but the fruits of knowledge are not value neutral. Yeah, alternative channel in case of ban. Blessings. I greatly appreciate you, Mindful Exposures. Thank you for coming by. Yeah, we had a funny conversation on Truth or Cop yesterday.
With Truth or Cop or with Mindful?
With both of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with both of them.
I kind of figured you're probably over there. I missed it.
Yeah, he kind of randomly did that entire thing, but I appreciate the Truth or Cop. Go check out his channel, Truth or Cop. He's always very friendly. And we've done different specials together on the alternative channel. Right? Made by Machine Bob is a special I did with Truth or Cop. Okay, where we exposed some of the actors in the online community. Yo, it's your boy. Yo, it's a Goy Jew. Yeah, man, blessings. But yeah, as I said, knowledge is a mere advertisement for what should be done. Religion curses the intemperate who don't let God judge the final outcome and who go with either side on occasion and choose neither infamy or fame. We find these in the entrance to hell in Dante's Inferno. One cannot remain neutral on a moving train, but one must also remember that a hypocrite is worse than a non-believer. The accomplishment of religion cannot be understated. Sorry. Indeed, between the ocean of credulity and the abyss of skepticism is the road of faith. To paraphrase Pascal, reason confutes dogmatists and nature confutes skeptics. The righteous path is always seen as a middle path between two extremes. All things in moderation, even moderation. God helps those who help themselves. We are familiar with these proverb-like sayings. By the way, you guys know who said those? It's Benjamin Franklin. He made those things up. Pretty crazy stuff. He was somewhat of a genius in terms of state.
I'm like definitely confuted by nature for sure.
Yeah, it's like fine tuning. Nature is fine tuned.
It's a journey to even know what is even what.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think he actually wrote those under a pseudonym. You know, he wrote like all these pamphlets, and he would pretend to be different guys.
It's almost like he had sock accounts. You know, pseudonyms are kind of like sock accounts back in the day.
Yeah, printing press. Then they had sock accounts. Yeah, Kierkegaard was doing the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, he wrote tons of books under pseudonyms. Johannes de Silencio and others works. But yeah, instead of religious moderation, we now have modernized tools and professional experts of specialized tendencies. The compartmentalization of truth has created a swamp of lowered expectations on the one end and over specialized versions of experts that do not agree. History is much more honest. Time does not lie. All time does is read the ledger. Instead, what we have today is the corporatization of knowledge and truth and the commodification of religion. The notion of double truths and even triple truths, or the notion that truth has as many aspects as there are eyes, has once again become in fashion. Only sophistry remains. What is considered truth in one instance is subsumed as the truth of one particular area where it is limited and confined. And one can only then say that a philosophical truth is not a religious truth and that a religious truth is not a scientific truth. We reject such a methodology. Without the notion of one truth and the consistency of truth, truth itself becomes disjunctive and irregular. At the outset of human history and as far back as humans began, religion and medicine and art were linked. Religion and medicine and art were linked. And they all had a religious connotation, by the way. And that is the same thing that they're doing now with that Hermetic Asclepius serpent rod. Okay.
Row.
Don't you forget it. Of course, we don't give medical advice. But it seems that out of philosophy, science has emerged. Those who blame metaphysics and religion for seizing on science to promulgate lost truths must remember that their quest for knowledge is the fruit of the philosophical and mystical endeavor. After all, what we call science today was properly termed, quote unquote, natural philosophy at its outset. And Aristotle had used the term metaphysics, quote unquote, to imply the book that comes after the book on physics and nothing more. That's from McGee. Brian McGee. I don't know if you guys ever saw The Great Philosophers by Brian McGee, but it's available online for free. Excellent program. I mean, I think if you go back and watch some of the episodes of The Machine Lies and see my presentations and watch some of those presentations to go along with it, if I'm talking about a certain philosopher and you watch the show to figure out more about the philosopher, an excellent resource. Brian McGee, The Great Philosophers. It's a pretty old show. Right, but that's season 1, episode 2. Martha Nussbaum, the expert on Aristotle, she gives some interesting ideas. She says that Aristotle's obsessed with the teleological scheme, that he's like the founder of like futurism. He's a founder of empiricism, and he's a founder of, metaphysics, but by accident. Right? He didn't mean metaphysics when he said metaphysics. He just meant the book after physics. It's very simple, folks. Although he did create many subjects. Logic and science being one of them. Okay. And now, and he may have done the correct move there, right? Because now they see that, logic is tied to grammar and stuff like that. So that sort of specialization seemed to open up a new level of understanding, but it also turned into a monster. Logic was also turned into a monster through that exchange, right? A hollow shell, totally detached from meanings, right? Symbolic logic is totally detached from meaning. It's just functions of various statements, right? So you could replace those functions with any other statements. So it's, as I said, content plasticity. But yeah. Where to for? Where to for, my friends? I don't even know if that's a statement. Where to for? It is what it is.
It definitely is.
Yeah. I like that. I'm going to start using that. Where to for? But yeah, metaphysics. Okay, Aristotle. Okay, one can no longer call these different subjects as Aristotle clumsily approached them, as one can separate truth from any greater notion of truth. The truth is beyond compartmentalization. Truth can only agree with truth. As such, the truth is all one and interconnected. The compartmentalization of knowledge is based on the categories of Aristotelian philosophy, and we find no reason to accept them at face value. Those who believe in the myth of progress generally suggest a justification for a present status of things and do little more than to support the status quo. Knowledge has been taken out of the hands of the personalized endeavor and handed over to the specialists. Not only does religion and faith reject this, but so should any seeker of fundamental truths. The study of so-called theology, quote unquote, is an interdisciplinary study. Just as so-called rigorous truths of science are often colored with religious and spiritual implication, there certainly have metaphysical and epistemological ideas baked into that. Interesting text. Why, thank you. That's a double compliment because this is, a triple compliment because this is actually, I wrote this myself. So blessings. I hardly read my own writings, but I will this week because it seems a lot of them seem to match up with what I'm covering here on the show. Especially this next chapter on Baal and the Jews and the theopolitical ideal. And we're going to be talking about the theopolitical ideal and how it transforms into the loss of religious consciousness, moving to technological consciousness. Right. And then finally look at how the state combines with technique. Right. Because, you have several movements. Okay. You have the theopolitical state. right? Then you have the birth of liberalism, right? Then you have, okay, the rise of technique and the death of liberalism, and you have the emergence of the world technological state, right? So I've been cataloging these changes for you guys and bringing up tons of resources. But the main resource, okay, that is one of the most important resources, obviously, Jacques Ellul's Technological Society, the book Technological Slavery by Dr. Skrbina and Theodore Kaczynski, and also the various insights that I've provided. Okay, in sometimes I speak for an hour, sometimes an hour and a half before the show even starts. Okay, but I greatly appreciate you guys. I greatly appreciate the guys from NPC the game, man. Blessings. I was over there earlier. Looks like I'm gonna have to stop by more often. You guys showing me love. Blessings. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, man. But yeah, let's go to this. Those who believe in the myth of progress generally suggest a justification for the present status of things and do little more to support the status quo. Oh, yeah, I already read that. Sorry. I'm all the way at the bottom of this paragraph. Okay, furthermore, we reject the notion that knowledge is purely for the sake of knowledge. Okay, knowledge for the sake of knowledge is a snare. Learning without virtue is a snare. Okay. A true snare. A true trap. Okay, it's the devil's bargain. Remember, it's the knowledge. I mean, it's the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It's the knowledge.
Oops.
Okay, it's the knowledge, buddies. That's what's getting you in trouble. I'm taking a weird approach. Nature is good, knowledge is bad. I know some people might not like that. All right, but of course, I'm not talking about nature like trees and stuff, right? I'm talking about the universe, the cosmos, so on and so forth, right? Okay, knowledge is not divorced from the sacred, right? The desacralization of knowledge and the separation from nature. Two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. Okay. The assumption that truth must be secularized is no longer useful. Of course it's not, right? There's people praying to Chat GPT right now. You guys know that? As is the belief that what is sacred to someone is simply a manifestation of some evolutionary drive, unaffected by objective knowledge. Let me read that again. The assumption that truth must be secularized is no longer useful, as is the belief that what is sacred to someone is simply a manifestation of some evolutionary drive, unaffected by objective knowledge. Yeah, Jay Dyer, gay liar, same thing. Don't worry about it, Nico.
Kosher Dyer.
Jew Dyer. He literally said, we follow the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah proves the Trinity. Good Lord.
Sad
cooked himself.
trombone.
Yeah, he cooked himself. Hey, everybody following that guy. It's a joke. It's a sad joke. Okay, and they're working for Alex Jones, the Zionist supporter. Go watch something else if you watch that stupid shit, honestly. As J.S. Mills once said, the understanding that the difference between two viewpoints can produce a nugget of truth. Negative truth, quote unquote. Ha, 3 people left. Ha, go fuck yourself. Meanwhile, theology has been hijacked by prodigiously self-righteous clergymen.
I'd say Dyer fits in that category.
Yeah, weird that I wrote that next. Who pray in order to be seen. You know, it says in the Quran, woe to those who pray in order to be seen. And who neglect the feeding of the poor. Like, you really think you're righteous because you pray all the time? Insane people. People who pray in order to be seen by other men. They're afraid of other people. Okay, just like Saddam Hussein was looking at the camera and doing his prayer, so that the news could see him. It's fake. Well, yeah, let me write the Quran verses in my blood because I'm a descendant of the Prophet. You're fake. Oh, I'm gonna spend my time in these four walls, and that's gonna save me. And the outside world doesn't exist when I'm inside these four walls because it's the house of God. Open your fucking eyes. We pray on the earth. Okay, you people are fucking lost. Tear down the mosque, tear down the church, and tear down the holy temple, but don't break anyone's heart because God lives there. Get it fucking right. The game is not to acquire possessions or knowledge. We're accumulating righteous acts. So we can see what difference it makes in the world, collect virtue, and then spend it for wisdom. Your deeds are going to be weighed on a scale. What the fuck do you guys think this is? It's really not a game, folks. There's a real war between good and evil going on, and it's not on the physical plane at all. And the physical plane doesn't exist. It's all spirit all the way down. It's turtles all the way down. Physicality is an illusion created by the mind. It's true. For example, the meaning and interpretation of religion on its own terms, the study of manuscript data and archaeological finds, the study of history, are commonly separated, making it hard to see the bigger picture. This jigsaw framework of over-specialization prevents mutual discussion. One cannot rely on this piecing together in terms of justification of one's faith. But one cannot advance in knowledge either without questioning what one knows. Suffice it to say, those who take this approach will struggle to understand the import of certain religious ideas, continue to hold false dichotomy between ancient systems of faith and the modern secular world. We endeavor to show that the history has been centralized and corporatized by the myth of the Western civilization as it related to Paul's New Covenant theology. One must listen to everyone and believe in nothing until one can prove it for oneself. And the astute William Cooper once so eloquently spoke. To put matters to rest, we give our definition of faith. Faith is not merely a structure of belief, but a harmonization of one's own range of influence in relation to the world. Faith means relying on one's own intuitive grasp of the situation rather than hearsay evidence, and continually asking the question, who benefits, quote unquote. When one has to continually ask the question, who benefits, quote unquote, then the questions of normal practicality are tossed out of the window. One can lead one to a lie with the truth and lead one to a truth with a lie. This is why Nietzsche points out. Buddha said, do not flatter your benefactor. When one has shown the proper deference, one can give to God what is God's and to Caesar what is Caesar's, but when all roads lead to Rome, one is left with few options. One is left to question. The belief that one simply has to trust the information as it is being presented is naive realism. I point out two guys, Plato and Paul. Plato and Paul. Okay, Plato, Paul, okay, Aquinas, okay, and Luther. You really only need four guys to make it happen. The differences between those four guys will give you everything you need. I mean, as as a as a man much more intelligent but much more devilish than myself once said, all of Western philosophy is a footnote to Plato. The belief that one simply has to trust the information as it is being presented is naive realism. Belief is a dead thing, whereas faith must be continually tested and renewed. Many have started to doubt the Platonic definition of truth as something that exists outside of yourself, or the Aristotelian notion of truth being potential. We do not downplay the role of knowledge, but we we elevate faith as something that comes after knowledge, and precisely in the applications derived from an incomplete set of rules. We hold to Kierkegaard's definition, quote, an objective uncertainty held fast through appropriation with the most passionate inwardness is the truth. Let me read that again. An objective uncertainty held fast through appropriation with the most passionate inwardness is the truth.
Oof. I mean, that explains so much.
Oh yeah, it really does.
That's kind of one of the main problems we have.
Oh yeah. Objective and subjective divide is huge. Dualism is a problem. Philosophical dualism is the beginning of a huge problem. Separation from nature. Archetypal man. Universalism. Pseudo-eschatology of progress. And of course, I've explained all those items in way more detail than probably needs to explain to like 20 loafers. Right? But yeah, I love you guys. Right, but right, I anticipate that these shows will be broadcasted for a future generation someday, compiled and re-edited, and hopefully, I mean, who's to say? I'm just a man with a music box, folks. But yeah, we follow William James, who was influenced by C.S. Peirce, who states in his Will to Believe, against a skeptic who says better risk loss of truth than chance of error. One cannot wait for all the facts to come in and sit on one's hands. After someone has figured something out, there is life to go live in application of that truth. One cannot abandon hope for truth for risk of error. The quote by James. Can't abandon hope for truth for risk of error. Such an exchange will leave one in the abyss of skepticism. We hope one can approach our redefining of faith that makes faith more robust and active. We also hope one can appreciate, the fact that there is a history of philosophy, a philosophy of religion, a science of religion, a history of science, and a science of philosophy, and so on and so forth. Art, history, science, philosophy are enmeshed with the development of religious ideology and their political expression. What does Paul's view suggest in terms of historical, cultural, and political expression of 1. Christianity spread to Europe, 2. The morphing of Judaism and Christianity during the periods of reform before the start of secular thinking in the form of religious reform movements? Okay, those two main shifts. Okay, A, Christianity, B, the Reformation. Okay, we hope to paint a clearer picture of this in light of what we feel are 3 main so-called Western faiths have achieved and how they have altered the development of history, culminating in, the victory of basically Paul in the West, right? Okay, of the three systems, you have Moses, you have Muhammad, and you have Paul, right? Okay, and one might even say that Plato overtakes Paul. He starts off slow, but then he overtakes him. So it's really, Plato's mask, the mask of Plato. But yeah, we're doing the whole thing. Blessings to all the people. Let's see who these people are, man. Hit the like button and support. Thank you guys. I'm gonna try to, talk to the people in chat real quick. Play a little bit of music. Okay. And then we'll continue on with the show. Okay, I greatly appreciate you guys. Thank you. Better than, oh yeah, this last show was a real treat. A real treat. We had Mr. Anderson, Angeline Joy, Twilight, Son of Lilith, bunch of people. We had some of the OG people, Reddington, Neurojack. We appreciate you guys. Nico Pluto, the machine. Oh yeah. Jay shitting on someone close to me. Oh yeah, man. They'll do it. Mindful Exposures, I appreciate you. Zephyr Voxel, I appreciate you. Sam, I greatly appreciate you. Lizard Tree, blessings, madam. I greatly appreciate your time. Name isn't important. Salud. Peace be with you, brethren. I greatly appreciate you. Hanko Flamio. Blessings, brother. Thank you for being here with me. DJ Isolated. Peace be with you, man. I greatly appreciate your time. Yeah, let me get into some music here. Just a little short little music break. I'll do another little longish one in a minute here before I close it down. NPC the game. Blessings, brother. Did Jason Unchained. Nice. Mimsy Limbs. I assume that person earned their moderator status. Blessings. Shadow Buddha. Peace
I
be
want
with
to
you.
say that's Jason Scholl, but I'm not sure.
Oh yeah. Could be Jason Scholl. Yeah, because I think he knows Nico Pluto as well, so that would make sense because they're always in the same chats. I think Jason Scholl watches J-Dye.
I guess right.
Did he? Okay, as long as he didn't delete Nico Pluto because people get mad and delete people. But yeah. Yeah, nobody delete Nico Pluto. He's a special guest. I mean, he's been watching for a very long time.
Yeah, he good.
Yeah, J Diarrhea. Taco Tuesday. Yeah, blessings.
America loves tacos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You tell me, blessings. Peace be with you. Dogma Free. Peace be with you, man. Blessings. Traveling internationally. That's great, man. Yeah, blessings, brother.
Stay safe.
Calix, thank you for being here. Hanky Panky, yeah, that's their name for Hank, yeah. The Diorites. Yeah, it's me. Yeah, blessings. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is, folks. we get no love from that section of the internet. Nor
for obvious reasons.
for obvious reasons. I think we've exposed what the deal is there. But yeah. Yeah, let me try to play some of this for you guys. Yeah, this is pretty intense right here. Blessings. Wait. Oh. Yeah, blessings. All right, we're gonna continue on here. I have this book and two original works. One was a opening statement I wrote for AI debate where they never where they canceled the debate the same day it was scheduled, which is hilarious. Okay, their little dog and pony show. But nevertheless, I will be bringing you guys the opening statement I made for the AI debate. Right up. Let me bring this up. Audio, camera, visual, virtual. Oh wait, no, I need to change this avatar. That's what I want. I'll change to this here. This anime guys destroying a machine or something like that. Blessings. One finds much convergence in the religions of the world, both on metaphorical, philosophical, ethical, and moral teachings of various faiths. There are seen almost identical truths. While some claim that this weakens the fact that religions are stemming from their own unique sources, it also strengthens the claim made by those very same religions that these are universal truths inscribed in the heart of man from the very outset. This tension has only been clarified by a few. Another related but altogether different view is that religions of man were a stepping stone for progress of certain historical memes. And even today's scientific advancement. This tension can clearly be explored within the context of the development of Christian beliefs. Okay, spread of Christianity to European society. Okay, were developed separate from Coptic and Eastern Orthodox factions. The view of evolutionary development, quote unquote, of religious teaching means anything. If it means anything, then it seems to suggest that religion played a quite pivotal role. Okay, this is the perhaps paradoxical view of the myth of progress or faith in the future. If religion was accepted around the world, it seems to suggest that it is the best that man had in the stage of development, and that whatever we have now is equally inadequate to the development of what is to come. One cannot accept a post-religious world out of this, but simply a carrying along of religious truths in new formats and vehicles of expression. This is what Nietzsche saw. That the new liberal values were adopted as a kind of slave morality left over from the Roman Jewish elite that lay decimated got ripped apart. Right. What succeeded Rome? It was the European Christian world, as we said earlier. Right. Okay. Let me skip a little bit of this. Okay, so Western Europe, right? No group on earth has privileged right to this information. No visible organization takes precedence when discussing matters of religion. Science holds to methodological materialism, and religion holds to the authority of Scripture. Okay, I'm going to skip a lot of this here and go straight to the section where I talk about the theopolitical status. Okay, let me start from from section 185 here. Okay, the prophet is a witness to God's truth and teaches it the best way he can. The disciple dictates it to the scribe. The scribe uses language of his own time and place to remember and transmit the clarity of the message in its original purity. The meaning of the language is varied through the context of time as it is applied to the development of speech until it reaches us in our own language and tongue, and this naturally assumes no one corrupted the message along the way. What we receive is a translation of the language and the message in the guise of our own language and cultural setting. That is admittedly limited in describing the scope of previously assumed and even ancient frames of reference. The words are interpreted to us in our time by teachers and scholars that pass through the hands of priests and judges. The priests, who are the teachers and preservers and promoters and interpreters of the message, are to be distinguished with the judges, who are yet higher set. They interpret and apply the teaching in institutional format. Hold on. I think there's people back here, actually. Oh, it's just blessings. Hey. Hi. Hey, friend. How you doing today? Good. Thank you for being here. I greatly appreciate you. It's like a character from Alice in Wonderland. It's like there she is. Blessings. Yeah, who else is brave enough to join our little panel experience? Let's see. Actually, let me drop this link again and see who's willing and able. Of course, we have more music in a second here. Jason Unchained. Blessings, brother. Why did the Vatican want domination over the secular world? Well, it's not exactly the Vatican, I think. Like as I catalog the changes in this book, right? It's like Jews, Muslims, and Christians are all involved in it. Sad to say. Right. Islamic science. Okay, Christian, I guess, wishy-washiness.
I'd say buffoonery.
And then, and Jewish, what shall we call it?
Machinations.
Machinations of the Jews. Exactly. Excellent. I mean, so yeah, I think they all had a fair role to play in it. I mean, who took the cap off the entire thing? I mean, sometimes, it's interesting that the Christians and the Muslims all dominated in their own little areas, right? And they're both just scrambling, right, to figure out this, what to do next with the way technology is going. So, that's putting it all, I think, rather fairly, in my opinion. But I think a lot of people are confused. They think there's like some other things going on. Right. I'm just trying to be honest about what I see. Right. And this is a very, very generalized explanation, as this is an introduction to the rest of the shows, right? This week, right? So, yeah, that's how it is. But the reason why, and I do talk about Islam in, I talk about Islamic science, right? So that has a special role to play in the development of Western philosophy. And I explain why that is in the book. Right. But yeah, the Christians and the Islamics, they fell prey to Aristotelianism. Right. They got ripped apart in philosophical disputes. Right. And that's what then predominated in Europe. Yeah, I mean, this, Nico, that's how I feel. Props to you, Nico. I feel the exact same way. The Tempest. Or the motherfucking Cthulhu, man. Bring the pain. Fuck it. 2 tears in a bucket. Niggas want a ruckus. Of course, I'm quoting Method Man. Yeah, blessings to all the people. Greatly appreciate all you guys. I greatly appreciate Method Man. The real deal. But yeah, let's check this out. And let's keep it pimping. We got a sandwich, a sand ninja, and a snow wolf.
Yep.
So we're doing that big. Jihad unit. So yeah, let's check this out. Finally, it reaches us all. All these steps remove us from the direct experience of the text and affiliation from the original law. But they are also the reason we should take a closer look if we can find the messages contained therein, the great consequences to humanity, sorry. Whether or not you believe in the message, you must understand that many do believe it. And as such, you are not removed from finding the importance of thinking and challenging the meaning that is presented to us on a daily basis. If you are concerned about its untruth, then you must prove it. The Sumerian list of kings, the Hindu cycles of time, the biblical list of prophets, and even the Chinese legacy of the sage kings, as well as the Egyptian pantheon, start at the beginning of mankind. They all attribute the forces of mankind and life in general to have been influenced by supernatural forces, while today's science leaves much to be desired in terms of the concrete explanation of the origins of life in the universe. The agreement of so-called primitive man, quote unquote, on these matters arrives with surprising clarity at the same conclusion. What scientific tools or methods did they use to come to their conclusion? We will never really know. Because again, we only can reach a probabilistic view of their lives, which are arrived at through our own incomplete tools of modern science. The Hebrew story of the origins of man is not a significant improvement from the polytheistic framework, but it does deal with the polytheistic framework and is the one that we are currently involved with. Although its abstract nature of an imageless God allows itself to be hijacked by pantheistic and monistic sentiments, as well as Neoplatonic frameworks. It provides a rather advanced model for the organization of nomadic tribes for the purposes of establishing a bond that is beyond any ethnic predicament. In study of the saga of Moses, one sees the law established that is supposed to be clarified by Christ and abolished by Paul. One sees that in Jewish context, the blessed status of the nation of Israel, and for Christians, the coming return of Jesus is an aid to all mankind, and represent a sort of replacement for strict adherence to the law. But Paul still states and assures us that he is a Jew and that salvation is of the Jews. We have to learn more about the origins of this group. And for most of the work on the history of the Jews and Christians, we will borrow from their own scholars. We have chosen Martin Buber's work on Moses to represent a benign source. I meant liberal, right? He's liberal. Right, he's part of the let me look this up. Hashkala, I think it's called. Hashkala. Did you guys know about this? You guys know what a Hashkala is? You guys know what a Hashkala is? You know what a Hashkala is? You know what a Hashkala is? All right, I'm sorry for that. But yeah,
Nope.
I don't know why I said it like that. I wanted to make fun of some people from somewhere, but yeah. They're like the vendors in Pakistan. They make up songs. There's this dude selling mango juice. He's like, juice hai, thanda juice hai, ambala juice hai, se bala juice hai, thanda juice hai, ambala juice hai, se bala juice hai. So he's saying, I have juice, cold juice. There's mango juice and there's apple juice.
Shit, son.
Keeps repeating that shit. That's pretty cool. Right,
He's
but, yeah.
auctioneer.
Yeah, sounds like an auctioneer, yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is true. But yeah, Hashkala. The Hashkala. The Jewish Enlightenment, folks. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. The small, we should call it tiny enlightenment. Look at all these figures. Moses Mendelssohn. I bet he's in here somewhere.
Tiny hat enlightenment.
Oh, there he is. Moses Mendelssohn. Guess who he was writing to? Immanuel Kant, folks. He wrote letters to Kant.
Ruh-roh.
Insane. Bet you guys didn't know that. Jews of Central and Eastern Europe, certain influence on those in Western Europe and the Muslim world. Oops. They got
Ruh-roh.
But check this out. You got all the key elements here: rationalism, liberalism, and relativism.
Oof.
I think rationalism in terms of philosophy, liberalism in terms of political ideal, relativism in terms of cultural ideal. Oh, look at this. Assimilationists who wish to eliminate or minimize the existence of Jews as a defined collective. Okay. So that's enough information about the Hashkala. Right? But yeah, it happened. It was important. And Martin Buber was influenced heavily by those guys, right? The story of Moses represents to us the foreground for all mishaps pertaining to the law and the quote-unquote Old Covenant as labeled by some Christians. Okay, Jews in the Old Testament found themselves continually held captive by foreign rulers. Eventually, they would be absorbed into the state. Is this a story of God's people being liberated and brought back to the Holy Land, or a story of the Jews using a position as God's own people as a mantle to commit genocide and to extort powerful rulers for wealth and land, which causes them to lose favor with God? The Bible clearly mentions both. We cannot, as a result, simply assume that God has given unconditional status to any group on earth. God saved the seed of Adam through Noah. The flood story is mentioned in the every ancient culture known to man. I believe so. I've looked into it. Right. From what I've seen, like almost all the ancient cultures have some sort of flood story, some sort of story of the Great Flood. But Plato obviously has in the Critias, Critias, right? It's only a fragment of the text that we have available. His uncle retells a story mentioned by Solon, who composed the laws of Athens. Sorry, but he tells of the legend of Atlantis, right? And it seems to be that he's explaining that they had some type of technology, right? They had basically like automated machines, right? Or whatever he's describing, right? They had these devices that would deliver things automatically to them. But of course, it's not any special thing. It's also mentioned in many of the tales of Hesiod and Homer and all those guys, right? They have Talos and Pandora. Pandora's a robot. Right, so you have ancient automatons. And of course, you have that in Ezekiel, right? The wheels and the angels are separate. Right, so it appears to be some sort of device. Obviously, I mean, if we have this type of technology, imagine the type of technology that the angels possess. It's obvious.
Angel tech, son.
Angel tech. Tech Zionism, son.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. Apparently. So yeah. Once again, man divided into various tribes and nations. The cities became polluted. They became centers of idol worship, usury, sexual degeneracy, and decadence. Finally, a man was led out of Babylon into the wilderness. His name was Abraham, and he was apparently not a genetically distinct individual. He was Chaldean from modern-day Iraq. 2 nations would come from his seed. One was Jews, the other was Arabs. One represented by Isaac, the other by Ishmael. One of the nations was that of the Jews who found themselves enslaved in Egypt. Moses led the Jews out of Egypt. I later want to refine this statement because I said the term Jew actually comes later, as we discussed, right? Abraham was a Hebrew, right? And then you have Israelite, and then the term Jew comes from that, right? So so there's 3 different terms, right? They became Israel. Okay, they became first they were Hebrews, they became Israelites, and then they became Jews, right? So it's kind of like the 3rd step in the equation, right? So this is rather imprecise at this time. That will have to be a note for the 2nd edition, or maybe I'll change that. Right? But yeah, Moses led the Jews out of Egypt and into the desert or wilderness. The disclaimer I mentioned, in the wilderness, the Jews, colloquially termed, were instructed how to build a nation for themselves. The theme of returning to the wilderness and leaving the city is a critical theme. Although some Jews found a way to serve those in power, and Moses, being part of the priestly class of Egypt, is proof of this, he rejected wealth and power. He even rejected the mantle of leadership, for the most part, among his own people as well. But the Jews wanted a clear definition of leadership, and even pleaded for a divine ruler. This is where we left off in Samuel, and looking at what Thomas Paine said about your God shall rule over you, right? You shall have no kings, your God shall rule over you, right? Uses that as a justification for democracy, right? The Jewish revolutionary spirit, as it were. But yeah, shout out to E. Michael Jones. And yeah, man, it'd be a joy to have a conversation with him someday. I disagree with obviously a lot of what he said, but yeah, here's some music here, and we'll be right back. A little closer here. Blessings.
Ruh-roh. Looks like we lost them.
Oh no. Wonder what happened.
His StreamYard probably crashed, or hopefully just the StreamYard one, not his laptop. There he is.
Whoops.
Oops.
I guess I crashed the StreamYard there. It's all good though. Yeah, but yeah, I'll play that later. You know, it is what it is. I'm not gonna start that over. But yeah. Yeah, I vow to play it again. But yeah, it's a good track. Oh, whoops! What the fuck? She's spazzing out.
Inside.
Whoops. Okay, let's hear this AI voice talk about Ibn Khaldun and some of the ideas that he's putting forward, because I think they're pretty much key. Okay, and then I'll repeat the little thing about knowledge and values, and then we'll basically conclude for today. But I greatly appreciate you guys for being here and for listening in on series of ideas about structure of belief, the architectonic, worldviews, secular and religious, and how we got into the modern idea, right? So I think this is another great anti-progress line about why civilizations collapse from Ibn Khaldun. Let's check this out.
The year is 1377. While Europe slumbered through the Middle Ages, a scholar in North Africa meticulously penned insights that would reverberate through the halls of history. This was no ordinary scholar, and this was no ordinary book. This was Ibn Khaldun, and he was crafting the Muqaddimah, a revolutionary analysis of civilizations, economics, and yes, even the very nature of mankind. Today, we journey into the heart of Khaldun's wisdom to understand his perspective on the diversity of humanity, a perspective far ahead of its time. So we see these outward differences between people. Skin color, hair texture, even facial features. It's easy to fixate on these, to assume they hold the key to some deeper truth. But Khaldun, he urges us to look deeper, beyond the surface. He challenges us to consider what truly shapes a people. Is it merely the sun beating down or the icy winds that blow? Khaldun acknowledged the role of environment, of course. He observed that those living in harsh northern climates.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking
all state. Okay, let's see what they're selling anyways.
Ain't that some shit?
Yeah, I think this could be a pretty interesting time here. Let's engage with this commercial.
Allstate first. Is that your card?
That kind of looks like that lady, like a professional version of that lady, Mad Mystic or whatever, right? Yeah, they look like kind of like people from the Panelverse. There's a weird look about these two guys. They're kind of like they're trying to find people who look average, I guess.
Yeah. Like to check your sunroof is closed first before going through the car wash. So check all.
Man.
State first and save when you click or call.
Surely the people who work there could have done something about that. Does that happen often? I feel like that would make a lot of mess inside of the car wash. So they'd probably check if your door, your windows are. Yeah, I don't know.
They usually check unless you got,
Yeah, I feel like they would check.
employees that don't care.
Yeah, Bomb the Factory by Disflex. Woo! Yeah, I definitely looked up that band that you were talking about, Disflex. Yeah, real talk. Yeah, we need to play that on the show for sure.
The elements developed a certain hardiness. Courage, he observed, was their hallmark. Strength. Even a certain bluntness, a lack of guile. Now, contrast that with his descriptions of those inhabiting the more temperate South. Here, he saw a people more prone to cunning, to intellectual pursuits. Even, he argued, a certain fickleness, a tendency towards luxury and ease. And this
Okay, so let's look at what he's noticed. He's noticed that environmental factors don't play the largest role, right? There's also the ideas of traditions and courage and all that type of stuff, right? And then certain environmental factors play into that, right? So he's noticed that there's a sort of tendency in relation to the environment, but there's also a cultural idea that's basically developing the tendency of people in a civilization. So he's taken a different approach, right, than let's say somebody who's looking at man in universal terms, right? He's not looking at things from the standpoint of an archetypal man, right? He's pointing out like the differences, right? And what could shape different societies, right? So yeah.
This is where we have to tread carefully. Because while Khaldun's observations were insightful for his time, we have to remember the context. He was writing in the 14th century, a world away from our own. To view his writings solely through a modern lens, to label them as mere stereotypes, would be a disservice. It would rob us of the opportunity to understand the evolution of thought, the journey we've undertaken to reach our present understanding of human diversity. Khaldun's descriptions, while sometimes bordering on what we might consider prejudice today, weren't intended as value judgments. Rather, they were attempts, however flawed, to understand the interplay between environment and culture. He was grappling with the same fundamental question that we still grapple with today. What shapes us? Is it nature or nurture? And how much does where we come from influence who we become? Now, when Khaldun spoke of civilization, he wasn't simply referring to grand cities or technological marvels. For him, civilization ran deeper. It was a state of being, a refinement of thought and behavior. And he observed that this civilized state was often strikingly absent in those groups we might perceive, at first glance, as the most free. He saw it in the Bedouin tribes, those nomadic peoples traversing the vast deserts. He called them a natural people, their lives governed by instinct, their existence a constant struggle against the elements. Now, before you accuse Khaldun of romanticizing city life, remember, he wasn't naive to its pitfalls.
So there's another thing where he's extremely advanced in his analysis, right? He's looking at civilization as being ingrained, right, in the individual, right? So it shapes the individual, right? And it's totally different from somebody who is a natural person, right? Who's based on nature, right? So this idea that, once you adopt cultural forms, right, they become the majority of your, they're not simply just, an epiphenomenon of the natural world and of the biological man, right? But it actually works the other way around, right? Civilization creates a new type of man, right? It's ingrained in the behavior, right? In the psychology, right? So he's looking at the civilized man as totally changed, right? Whereas, what's the meme? By the science tards, they were like still monkeys or something. Yeah, right.
He saw the corruption, the decadence that could fester within a society too far removed from its roots. But here's the crucial point. Khaldun recognized that civilization, for all its flaws, fostered something unique in mankind. It nurtured our intellect. It allowed for the flourishing of arts and sciences. It created space for cooperation and exchange on a scale impossible in a purely nomadic existence. In essence, Khaldun believed that civilization, despite its imperfections, provided the soil where the seeds of true humanity could be sown. This brings us to a rather provocative quote from Khaldun, one that makes us confront our preconceived notions. He writes, "The Arabs are a natural people. Their character is like that of wild animals." Now, before you grab your pitchforks, understand the context. Khaldun was using Arabs here to specifically denote the Bedouin tribes, not the entirety of the Arab world. He was highlighting the stark contrast between their way of life and that of settled societies. So what can we glean from this seemingly harsh comparison? Khaldun challenges us to think critically about our own definitions of civilized and uncivilized. He asks us to consider what aspects of human nature flourish in different environments, in different social structures, and ultimately, what does it truly mean to be human? But Khaldun's exploration of human diversity didn't stop at the environment or even the level of civilization. He delved deeper, uncovering a concept that he believed lay at the very heart of group dynamics, a concept he called asabiya. Now, asabiya is one of those beautifully nuanced Arabic words that resists easy translation. But at its core, it speaks to the bonds that tie people together. It's about social cohesion, solidarity, that sense of shared purpose and identity. Think of it as the glue that holds a group together.
Okay, let me look up two terms here. Okay, it's going to be asabiya and thumos. Asabiya. All right, let me actually put this out here. I don't know why. Oh, whoops. Oh, maybe I had to do that. If I wanted to click on this. Asabiya, sociology. If you look at the technological society, it'll be, this is actually very comical. It'll be put in the section of sociology. So it's hilarious. But yeah, asabiya, concept of social solidarity, emphasis on unity, group consciousness, sense of shared purpose, social cohesion. Originally used in the context of tribalism. Okay, concept was familiar in pre-Islamic era, but became popularized in Ibn Khaldun's Muqaddimah. Okay, so we're gonna read that possibly after we read like Rousseau or something like that. Right, go backwards in time. You know, so that'd be a fun trip, fun little journey we'll go on together, whoever's out there. So yeah, let's look at this. Or the people that are joining later.
Asabiya Tech.
Asabiya Tech. Numatech. Numatechne. Tumos. The spiritedness. Right? It says it's not a somatic feeling. This is very important. As nausea and dizziness are. Okay, it's not like anger or something like that. Okay, but it's like love of one's own. Spiritedness. Right? Okay, let's look at this. In Plato, it's passion. Okay, as opposed to intellect or appetite. Okay, so look at this. Ego, glory, honor. See, those are concepts that are used for group cohesiveness, as in asabiya, right?
Wasn't that Origin? What Origin was saying, glory and honor, or something like that?
Yeah, kalos kagathos, the honorable and the good. But which quote were you talking about, Red?
Origin, hostile Hyperborean. He's always saying like glory and honor or grace and
Grace
honor.
and honor. Yeah, grace
something
and
like
honor. Yeah, it's grace and honor. Yeah, indeed, he does say that.
Driving force behind their collective action. And here's where it gets really interesting. Khaldun observed that Asabiya wasn't some abstract ideal. It was forged in the fires of shared experience, often in the most challenging of circumstances. He noted that it was often strongest amongst those very groups that might appear on the surface to be the most different: nomadic tribes, isolated communities, those bound by blood ties, shared hardship, and a constant need to rely on one another for survival. Think about that for a moment. The very factors that set these groups apart, that made them different in the eyes of others, their customs, their beliefs, their way of life, were often the very sources of their strength. Their otherness, if you will, was their secret weapon, the wellspring of their resilience and collective power. This insight, my friends, is crucial for understanding Khaldun's view of human diversity.
Check that out. Their otherness. It's getting pretty obvious now. What he's trying to say. Okay, right. Yeah, like, don't they have that super hyper liberal term othering or whatever? Right. Well, he's saying that's a good thing. Okay, so he's saying othering is great. It's good for society. It's good for people. It's good for group solidarity.
I think R.C. Sproul was trying to define holiness as other at one point.
Oh wow!
In the Holiness of God book he wrote.
Whoa,
Remember
that's like
correctly.
That's like Feuerbach or something.
That was
like sounds like he got high, like
close
read
to
the
20
Bible and then like
close
read
to 20
Feuerbach
years ago.
on
Yeah,
mushrooms.
he said some weird stuff in that book, if I remember right.
Yeah, red flag, exactly. Name is important. I know. Yeah, blessings.
Diversity. He's not simply cataloging differences, he's revealing their deeper significance. He's showing us how those differences, when woven together by the threads of Asabiya, can create a force more powerful than any individual strand. Now, before we jump to conclusions, it's important to remember that Asabiya, like any powerful force, could be channeled for good or ill. It could unite a people to achieve great things, to build empires and advance knowledge. But it could also, as we'll see, become a tool for conflict and oppression. The key, according to Khaldun, lay in understanding the dynamics of Asabiya, in recognizing its potential and its perils. So, as we delve further into Khaldun's masterpiece, keep this concept of Asabiya at the forefront of your minds. It's the key to unlocking the mysteries of human diversity, to understanding how differences, when channeled effectively, can become the engine of progress and the foundation of lasting civilizations. Here's where Khaldun's genius truly shines through. He doesn't just observe these patterns of diversity in Asabiya, he unravels their inherent dynamism. He reveals how these forces interact to shape the very trajectory of civilizations. And what he unveils is a poignant paradox, that progress, the very thing that societies strive for, can often plant the seeds of their own decline. Imagine a nomadic tribe, hardened by hardship, their Asabiya burning bright. Driven by a shared purpose, they conquer lands, establish a dynasty, amass wealth and power. This is the ascent, the moment of glory. But Khaldun argues that this is also the moment when the seeds of decay begin to sprout. Why? Because with success comes comfort, complacency. The shared hardships that once bound them together begin to fade into distant memory. Luxury breeds individualism. Wealth creates divisions. The very diversity that fueled their rise, those different skills and perspectives, become diluted as the ruling class adopts a veneer of homogeneity. Remember that sharp, distinct identity, the source of their strength? It starts to soften, to lose its edge. The fire of Asabiya, that once burned bright, begins to flicker, to wane. And as it does, so too does their grip on power. Khaldun argues that this is the point where a new group, often one marginalized or overlooked, will rise to challenge the status quo. A group fueled by their own unique form of asabiya, hardened by their own set of shared experiences. And the cycle begins anew. This, my friends, is the cyclical view of history that Khaldun presents, a constant ebb and flow of asabiya, of diversity, of the rise and fall of civilizations. It's a sobering reminder that progress is not linear, that success is not guaranteed, and that the very factors that drive a society's ascent can, if left unchecked, sow the seeds of its ultimate decline. Thanks so much for watching.
That's right, motherfuckers.
Was that Artificially Aware? Was that channel?
No, it's Philosopheasy.
Huh. Because it's
What
the
a
same.
weird. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that channel's completely AI generated, or
Yeah.
something like that. But yeah,
Well,
made by a
artificial
robot.
as well.
But yeah, what he's saying is very poignant. You know, progress leads to success, leads to comfort, leads to individualism, leads to, you know, and I mean, actually, Plato had the same idea sort of in Book 8 of the Republic. You know, the rise and fall. They're in a, you know, he said democracy leads to tyranny because democracy is rule of the desires.
Absolutely, you know, egalitarian. They're just like below upward, where your limbs are controlling your head. It always seems to go in the direction of anarchy if a political system is directed in that way. It's like not going with the way of Tao, right? The way things flow, like an above downward structure. So
Yeah, he shows how men, instead of valuing intelligence, they start to value the products of intelligence, which is the power, you know, and then once they gain power, they start to get obsessed with honor because men shower them with honor. So they become honor driven. And then what happens with that is that people are able to exploit their honor and they become out for themselves. So they become seeking wealth. And they and that's when you have the rule of these things he calls the drones, you know, which are like these bees. You know, he says they're basically like bees in a beehive, right? Like they're fucked. You know.
Yeah, because everybody's
every man for
it's
himself.
dog eat dog, right? And everybody's kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, asabiya. Interesting ideal there. You know, and also no linear view of progress. Right. And also taking into account that the various civilizations all have a cultural diversity which is much more complex than their natural diversity, which is already different, right? Which already provides a bunch of differences. You know, so it's very interesting. Zephyr frozen. Unseen is here. I'm gonna kind of refresh this page and see what happens. I mean,
So what are you reading from right now? I kind of missed that.
well, I wasn't really reading much there. I was looking at a video there.
Oh, okay.
You know. Yeah.
You
But
mentioned Plato's Republic.
yeah.
What were you saying about that? Just catching the end of that.
How in book 8 he talks about I mean, I think he says it's like, you know, his own form of government, which is like a special form. I think it's like, you know, he like, you know, he's got his own special form of government, right? The city and speech that he presents, right? So he says if it's not that, then it's going to decline into you know, the most capable type of people, right? So it's going to be like, you know, people that rise to the top of the system or whatever, right? So they'll basically be like, you know, in power, you know, they'll have a lot of power, right? And they'll want to dominate and they'll fall into the love of honor and then they'll fall into the love of wealth. And he says, basically, that's where democracy comes from. And he says, before democracy is tyranny. And he basically says democracy is like them being ruled by their multifarious desires. Right? So it's like the rule of the many, he calls it, right?
Yeah.
So he says, like, yeah, like they're like everybody's got, I mean, everybody's an individual. Everybody wants for themselves, and they all join together in a system where they all do for themselves. You know, so like nothing gets done in the society as a whole. Was this idea of democracy obviously wasn't very popular among the Athenians, probably.
Yeah,
So-
I could see that. I'm looking at book 8 right now, and I'm seeing like what he's saying here. But that's pretty interesting. I never knew he said that.
Oh yeah. Book 8 is probably the most interesting book in the entire thing because of his critique of democracy. You know, the other most interesting one is book 4. Obviously, book 7 has the allegory of the cave. You know, but I think book 4 is very, yeah.
Can you? He says here. Can you name any life that exercises political rule besides that of true philosophers? True philosophers? No, by God, I can't. But surely there's those who are not lovers of rulers who must rule, for if they don't, the lovers of it, who are rivals who fight over it, of course. Then who will you compel to become guardians of the city?
Right. Like instead of loving intelligence, they love the products of intelligence, which is the power.
Yeah.
You know, so they start to like focus on the power, and they create like aristocracy, and then it decays into I think oligarchy, and then democracy, and then tyranny, or something like that. But yeah. Oh, but yeah, you could go ahead if you want.
Oh, okay. Then who will you compel to become guardians of the city, if not those who have the best understanding of what matters for good government, and who have honors than political ones, and a better life as well? No one. Do you want us to consider how such people will come to be in our city, and how, just as some are said to have gone up from Hades to the gods, we'll lead them up to the light? Of course I do. This isn't, it seems, a matter of tossing a coin, but of turning a soul from a day that is a kind of night to the true day, the ascent to what is, which we say is true philosophy. Indeed, then mustn't we try to discover the subjects that have the power to bring this about? Of course. So what subject is it? Glaucon, that draws the soul from the realm of becoming to the realm of what is. And it occurs to me that I'm speaking that we said, didn't we, that it is necessary for the prospective rulers to be athletes in more than when they're young? Yes, we did. Then the subject we're looking for must also have this characteristic in addition to the former one. Which one? It mustn't be useless to warlike men. If it's all possible, it mustn't. Now, prior to this, we educate them in music and poetry and physical training. We did, and physical training is concerned with what comes into being and dies, for it oversees the growth and decay of the body. Apparently, it shouldn't be the subject we're looking for. No, it couldn't. Then could it be the music and poetry we described before? What's he getting at here? Kind of.
Like what he's trying to say is that there's like different orders of pleasure.
I see. Okay.
You know, and that this is not one of physical training. And he kind of describes the whole idea in chapter 4. You know, I mean book 4 really. I mean, but yeah, book 4 of the Republic, he talks about music, like allowing certain types of music along with the physical training, but yeah.
And that's
So
for
it's
rulers, right? Like to train them up for better rule, they should be adequate in poetry, rhetoric, music, and these other things. I guess that's what he's saying.
yeah, the philosopher kings have a genetic lottery on the class called the Guardians.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and they're the the women and the men, they train together, and it's like a kibbutz like system. And then underneath them is the workers. You know, they just do whatever they want. I mean, pretty much. You know, but the philosopher kings basically guide and select the genetics of the military class
Oh, I see. Right, right.
through a process of eugenics. Yep.
Oh, that's pretty psycho. Well, wasn't that the mustache guy's whole thing too? Like that's what he was trying to accomplish.
I mean, I think there is societies who did stuff like this. You know what I mean? But he wanted to make Athens more like Sparta.
Right. Right.
Right. So that's one of his goals here. You know, in the Republic, and that'll really stick it to them because they had a war with them. You know. You know.
And that type of system too, if I'm not mistaken, like, this kind of fed into the idea that, of like these class systems where the lower people were regarded as nothing, like like let's say like a homeless person or something. You wouldn't help a homeless person in this time period. Like it'd be absurd. Like if you were to come up to somebody and like hand them some money in those period of time, or like some coins or something, everybody would have thought you were out of your mind. It just really didn't happen like that. And even things like hospitals and orphanages weren't common amongst lower classes, if I'm not mistaken. Like this was something that you could only have access to if you had some sort of political power.
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I forget exactly. Man, I feel like I was gonna read something else too. Yeah, I still have the Skolomowski here. Among other things. But yeah, so we went through a few things. We went through, the different key elements. Okay, religion and science and all that stuff, and then we arrived at, the notion of progress through Ibn Khaldun. Right, and of course we have our friend Unseen here. And yeah, there's lots of different ideas we're going through. I was gonna read Piers Morgan tweets. No. But yeah, we do some of that on the other show. Let me put the channels up. I think actually.
Oh, Pierce is tweeting. What's he talking about, man?
Yeah, Piers. Man,
wasn't he like kicked out of England or something?
I think so.
Yeah. Then he comes to America and like tries to tell everybody what to do.
Yeah, they probably told him to leave. And okay, I don't know why I can't scroll up here. Okay, so we got this alternate channel. We got Reddington's channel. Got Zephyr's channel. Okay. We'll find Unseen Warfare too. In a minute here. We got Golden Renaissance Productions. Oh man.
What?
Yeah, that's the truther. The truther.
Truther Popo.
Yeah, Truther Popo. Yeah, but here it says the eclipse of values in the 19th century, right? So the 19th century marks the triumph of science and technology and the unprecedented spread of the scientific worldview. Okay, the aggressive assertion of positivism and materialism, of which Marxism was a part, of scientific rationality and technological efficiency, of the age of industrialization, which alas happened to be the age of environmental devastation, were all pointing to a brave new world in which traditional intrinsic values are set to limbo. We need to examine this process, and I think I basically demonstrated why traditional values are intrinsic values, okay, during the whole first 2 hours of this. Okay, because they're intrinsic to all people, right? And they're implicit within the range of scientific ideals as well. Yeah, thank you, Denise. Blessings.
Of course, Denise has the link.
Yeah, Denise is an OG for real. Blessings, Denise. Was a great friend for sure. But yeah, we need to examine this process more closely in order to understand why the triumphs of science had signified an eclipse of values. Science did not develop in a social vacuum, but as part of an unfolding of the unfolding new culture. The battle against petrified aspects of institutionalized religion was going on in the 17th and 18th century, as well as, and indeed with greater intensity, in the 19th century, which was more aggressive and successful in containing the influence of religion in the realm of thought. That was true in the previous 2 centuries. The secular, rational, science-based worldview mounted itself firmly onto the stage. The rest seemed merely a matter of implementation. The time appeared to be near when paradise on earth would prevail. The battle between science and religion was by no means limited only to intellectual matters, to means of interpreting the world around us. It was also an ideological battle. It's also an eschatological battle. For what was at stake, okay, well, we just demonstrated the sort of pseudo-eschatology of progress, right? As the man said, progress is not linear and success is not guaranteed. Okay, so religion represented the status quo. It was turned inward. It urged man to perfect himself, to seek an ultimate reward in the afterlife. Science represented the ongoing process of change. It was turned outward. It promised salvation here on earth. In this process, religion was often in an alliance with intrinsic values, supported them, and was supported by them. On the other hand, science was in an alliance with progress.
Yeah. This is on point, man. Straight up.
Yeah, this guy taught Scribina at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. What a weird place.
So his whole thing is modernity, I assume, right? Like myth of progress, this type of stuff.
Yeah, he's a huge like ecology guy, and actually, University of Michigan was like huge into the ecology stuff at that time. You know, like there was a huge ecology movement going on in the 70s at University of Michigan. Actually, they've had hash bash. If you go to 420, they've actually allowed people to walk around and smoke cannabis for a very long time. Yeah, for a very long time, like going back like 10, 20 years. It's been going on, which is quite a strange thing. You know, like back then, cannabis was super illegal. You know, but it was like a very small fine. I think you paid like $20 for smoking cannabis in Ann Arbor. They gave you a $20 ticket. They totally decriminalized it, which is interesting. It's a weird move for sure. But yeah, so that lets you know. Ann Arbor in the 70s was a very weird place. Must have been. And of course, Dearborn was where Henry Ford invented the automobile. Or I mean the assembly line. I think he didn't invent the automobile. There's like the Ford.
No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Assembly line though.
Yeah, the assembly line, yeah. So yeah. Which is much more nefarious, I think, the assembly line, right? A lot of kids' hands got cut off.
Ford had some interesting ideas. I mean, especially when it considered the JQ, you know.
The international Jew. Yeah, he wrote a book called The International Jew, folks. But he was also a Freemason. You know,
You said he was a Freemason?
oh yeah.
Oh, well, what an oxymoron.
Yeah, I think they were like super occultists that were starting to, because he like worked with I think he worked with the Nazis. I mean, he's kind of a weird guy. Him and Walt Disney and Edison, kind of weird dudes if you look into them. But yeah, so yeah, inward, outward, okay, knowledge, values, okay. The corollaries of the two opposing forces, religion and science, intrinsic values on the one hand and progress on the other, were themselves construed as adversaries. Indeed, progressive, quote unquote, and revolutionary, quote unquote, individuals of the 19th century debunked with equal vehemence both traditional religion and traditional values, which they somehow identified with the feudal and bourgeois ethos, thus regarding them unworthy of the new epoch, in which toughness, rationality, and no-nonsense pragmatic attitude were called for. In this climate, intrinsic values were somehow regarded as vestiges of the obsolete world. It is therefore no wonder that new doctrines concerning values attempted implicitly or explicitly to serve the scientific worldview and to justify its supremacy. Utilitarianism was a doctrine which announced that the basis for our ethics and action should be the principle, the greatest good for the greatest number. Formulated in this way, utilitarianism does not seem to signify the submission of ethics to the dictates of science. However, the principle was soon vulgarized to mean the biggest number of material goods for the largest possible number of people. This is indeed the underlying ethos of the technological and consumptive society. Thus, we can see that utilitarianism has become an adjunct to material progress. Oh, whoops. Oh, your picture's gone. Yeah, they're messing around today. On the StreamYard, we're getting all sorts of hiccups.
Weird stuff.
Yeah, all sorts of weird hiccups here.
They're listening, dude.
Yeah,
They're
something's
coming
going
up,
on.
you know.
Yeah, something's going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, we haven't had any trouble for a while. But yeah, that's relatively speaking because we get lots of trouble. But yeah, Carl the Antediluvian Kang. Uh-oh.
They're gonna have to take us all.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah. So yeah, he goes into some things. He says, thus we can see that utilitarianism has become an adjunct to material progress. Its ethical justification, material progress itself, is an essential part of the scientific, technological worldview. A scrupulous historian might object that this interpretation does violence to historical meaning of utilitarianism, as expounded by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. Ethical doctrines are what they become in actual practice. What an astute point by Skolomowski. The ease with which utilitarianism was instrumentalized, quote unquote, and integrated into the technological society only shows how much it was attuned to increasingly homogenized, brave new worlds. After all, Bentham and Mill were 19th century empiricists par excellence. Their views embodied all the limitations characteristic of empiricists. Nihilism and scientism, on the other hand, overly preached the gospel of science, enshrined facts as deities, and condemned all the products of the human spirit as meaningless, quote unquote, or reactionary. The intellectual climate of the 20th century, that is of the Western economically developed countries, Western educated, industrialized,
What does that sound like?
rich, democratic, weird, or wired, however you want to spell it. It's a very small sliver of the world's population, but it tends to decide the progress. And of course, they're now being swallowed up by technological progress themselves, as the stats seem to read. But yeah, intellectual climate of the 20th century, that is of the Western economically developed countries, not only favored the rise of the dominance of materialism, it also somehow inhibited all other individuals from considering values as one of the central concerns of human thought and human life. One of the great misfortunes of Western thought of the last centuries was to link intrinsic values with institutionalized religion. The bankruptcy of one form of institutionalized religion was tantamount, in the eyes of many, to the bankruptcy of religion as such, of intrinsic values woven into this religion. This identification was based on a faulty logic. Religion, and especially intrinsic values, are not tools of the clergy to keep the masses in control, though occasionally they are used to such purposes. But as the forms and structures worked out the millennia of human experience, through which the individual can transcend himself and thereby make the most of himself or herself as a human being, through which man's spirituality and humanity can acquire its shape and maintain its vitality, which we can define ourselves self-transcending beings. As such, as I have argued before, intrinsic values outline and define the scope of humanity. So what do we have? So there's lots of good stuff. There's a few caveats. Evolutionary ideals. Other stuff.
That's a really great point, though, because he makes this. What popped in my mind when he said this is like, it's not like the clergy is out here trying to dictate how society is ran or something, and like impede on the freedoms of human beings, right?
Right.
I don't believe that's the case. Now, has it turned into that in times? I would say yeah. But usually when it's
I think he's talking about
like Stalin or something, setting up his whole thing. Then it's like the clergy are directing people to obey the Bolsheviks or something. Right?
Oh, I think he's more just talking about like indulgences and stuff like that. Where you you get political favors from the Pope or something like that.
Oh yeah.
But Stalin took it to the next level.
Absolutely. Like Sergianism is
yeah,
the
we should play
antithesis of that.
Yeah, we should play that video by Debts to Compromise, because he made an excellent video on it.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, let me see if you've seen this video. This is such a good one. He's got these pithy little takes, that are very hard hitting. I wish I could edit videos in this fashion, but yeah, he's killing it. I was looking at some of his edits.
He's a good editor, man. And
oh yeah,
Pretty creative dude.
Oh yeah.
I know. When I first
He's
sat
funny.
down with him and like talked for like when we met or whatever here at the monastery, like that, me and that dude, I could talk to that dude all day, man. Really cool guy, man. Really cool. Knows what he's talking about too.
Yeah. I think it's called. I think it's this one. It's called. I don't think I finished watching it. It's called. It's Pan Orthodox. So
Ruh-roh.
I think this one has a Bartholomew guy in it speaking at the synagogue, and then he says shalom.
Ooh,
Yeah, this is a crazy.
ooh, baby.
Yeah, this is a real one. And then yeah, when he gets to this this other dude talking, where he could barely speak English, man, that dude looks like a triple OG, man, straight up. Where he's like, yeah, they're gonna try to kill us, and the reporter's like trying to fudge what he's saying. Yeah, check this out. This is crazy video if you haven't seen it. It's Pan Orthodox. Have you seen this video?
I haven't.
Oh,
I've
my
probably
God.
seen clips from it, like, just because, but I
Yeah,
haven't
this
seen
one.
his edit yet.
It's Pan Orthodox. Maybe
I
we'll
know.
end.
I recognize this guy here. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll end our show with 8 minutes of this.
Roman Catholic Church and Orthodox Church are in schism. Not heresy. Not apostasy. Those are technical terms that have their own definition.
The patriarchal encyclical of 100 years doesn't matter a damn anymore. The Babylon
Sachem Brown.
doesn't matter a damn anymore. I don't think most people in the Orthodox Church worldwide care anything about these statements.
And I remember asking him at
We
one.
don't care.
Is that crazy?
That's what that guy like. That no one said anything either. Look, we don't give a damn anymore. Who cares if we're in heresy? Damn it. If we want to be in the World
Sheesh.
Council of Churches, get out our face.
Yeah, this dude straight up says like it's the same as like being with the Catholics. It's crazy.
And Orthodox
He said
Church
they're both
are
in
in schism.
schism.
Yeah.
So what are you? You know what I'm
Not
saying?
heresy.
Like,
Not apostasy. Those are technical terms that have their own definition.
The patriarchal encyclical of 100 years doesn't matter a damn anymore. The Babylon Agreement to most people doesn't matter a damn anymore. I don't think most people in the Orthodox Church worldwide care anything about these statements.
And I remember
Oh, and
asking him at
Peter
one
Hears
point,
is there.
so you know what
Yeah.
the patriarchal encyclical he's talking about is? So it's an encyclical that was released in the 1920s by Meletius Motekis, and it says unto the churches of Christ, and it lays out reforms, right? So it's like we're gonna change the calendar to a papal calendar, and we're gonna lessen the services, and we're gonna, you know what I mean? It's like step by step, just like destroying the Orthodox faith and saying we have the same church as the heterodox. So to say we don't care a damn about that encyclical, it's just kind of absurd. You know what I mean? Like, all right, man.
Yeah, I think he has one of Peter Here's. Man, it gets really bad when he actually tries to explain it. But yeah.
I care anything about these statements.
and I remember asking him at one point, when I was a Nazarene, I never met a person that claimed to be a Nazarene that wasn't. There was no fake Nazarene clergy running around. So why do you have that in the Orthodox Church?
The 70s until today, we can see that these bilateral dialogues, first of all, were the unanimous. This was the result of a unanimous pan-Orthodox decision. It's not only some Orthodox that make a dialogue with other Christians. It's not only one particular local or national church that conducts a dialogue, but this is conducted on a pan-Orthodox level.
He just invented a new classification.
All our local churches are in the World Council of Churches. That's what he's saying there. And it's like, yeah, we know. That's why we're not with
It's
you
like
guys.
kowtowing to the pressure of the group.
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. And it becomes an echo chamber, and it becomes like, well, if we don't join with them, then we'll be in schism. And it's like, well, is unity more important than truth? Because that's what it seems like, And the whole basis of this World Council of Churches is a Freemasonic invention. You know what I'm saying? So you're giving in to the Masons. You're allowing the Masons to ascend your hierarchies. You're obeying them no matter what they say. And then, I don't know. I mean, you're affirming it because it's the official position. And it's like, okay, well, is officialness truth or what? Because what appears to be official can be false, you know.
And
this is only a minute into the video. This is a crazy video.
My bad.
But yeah, this is a wild video. Like this, I mean, it's fine, but yeah, this is a very informative video for like just what I'm trying to point out is that was only 1 minute, and I just got so much info. I'm like, holy shit. I wish like my videos could be that informative very quickly.
Editing is hard work. In my opinion.
It's man. You get,
Very
like,
tedious.
Right second, and sometimes there's like milliseconds and shit. It's fucking crazy when there's milliseconds involved. Holy fuck.
This pan-Orthodox decision, going back to the pan-Orthodox conferences of the 1960s, has served to reinforce the unity between the Orthodox. When we are confronted to dialogue with the other Christians, we must be on the same wave. We must come together to have some kind of unity and consensus between ourselves. So the bilateral dialogues, has reinforced the Orthodox communion, as one can say.
Distinguished leaders of the Jewish community and other faith communities, beloved children, shalom.
Shalom.
Sheesh. Shalom, he got him.
Leaders of the Jewish community and other faith communities, beloved children, shalom.
We love the children. What are you on about?
Said beloved children, I guess. But...
In the canons, it says that one should not even enter into a synagogue. And if one does, and prays with them, which he did do, they should be disposed. So, there you have it.
Bodied.
Leaders of the Jewish community and other faith communities, beloved children, shalom.
Oh boy. That's very confusing.
I say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right.
Father Bless, I recently found out Father Seraphim Rose's works.
Minute, something ain't right.
Father Bless, I recently found out Father Seraphim Rose's works have been censored. The parts where he spoke highly of the GOC old counters. Thank you, Seraphim Webster. Thank you. Yeah, I know all about that, and I'll tell you something. It's unfortunate. I think it's an unfortunate move in the sense that exactly what you're talking about, it just gives more credence to those who in the old calendars to say that the editors of the books are
he just goes straight to the problem is that the old calendars are going to see this as a victory because it's a huge problem.
Yeah, I mean, we edited it, and I kept it from everybody, but damn it, those old calendars are going to chop this up as a win. You know what I mean? Come on, dude.
Sad trombone.
It's crazy.
What's the word? Deceitful, I guess. I did actually talk to the fathers at St. Herman's about this, and their reasoning, was there was a reason behind what they're doing. It wasn't they didn't feel what they did was wrong, and they justified it. I guess I could share some of the things I remember, but don't quote me, and it's not the entire defense of this, but I want to defend them because I think they're very sincere. But they said that, look, Father Seraphim's understanding of the old calendar said those days is one thing. It's debatable how much he understood about all the different groups. But today things are so different that, you know, we knew Father Seraphim, we knew how he felt about these general things. We don't think that today he would have the exact same stance he had in the 70s, which is likely, right? People change, things change. You're going to have a different stance with depending on developments, but
so delete it.
So, and they don't.
Yeah, you guys better get your copies of Christ the Eternal Tao before they don't have it anymore.
This guy should be a lawyer.
Well, see, what the book was, it was Orthodoxy and the Religion in the Future that they're talking about was edited. And the portion that was edited, what it said was, and there was many, true confessors of our age, those of the Russian Orthodox Church of Russia, the true Orthodox Christians of Greece, and their bishops have taken a strong stand against the apostasy of our age. That's what he said. So they edited that out completely. And then, you know, there's old web archives where they say the material is dated. But the reality of what happened is that the Father Herman, the guy that was the abbot of that monastery, after Father Seraphim's death, he got deposed from Rokor, they claimed some sexual abuse went on. Now, I don't know what the details of all of that, but that's what they claim in Rokor. So he left, okay? And when he left, he went into like some Vagante group. And then he joined up, he went to Russia, and he joined up with the Moscow Patriarchate. Well, when they got back to the States, they were looking for places to go. So they went into communion with the Serbs. And the Serbs were in direct communion with the Moscow Patriarchate. So there's the connection there. So anything of those books that had any denunciation against the Moscow Patriarchate and World Orthodoxy has been edited out. And anything that affirmed anything that dealt with true Orthodoxy, like true Orthodox Christians of Greece, Russia, Romania, Bulgaria, Georgia, any of these other, you know, true Orthodox jurisdictions has been taken out. And they say, well, you know, we knew him, so, you know, obviously since we left, he would have agreed with our decision. But there's no indication of that within the work. You know, I've studied this guy's work for the last 5 years. And there's no indication that he would have went and involved himself with any World Orthodox jurisdiction or joined up with the Serbs or the Moscow Patriarchate. In fact, he said if someone were to do this, they would fall away from the church and they would fall into the schism and heresy of these people. So his own monks were warned of this before he died, and now they justify it. And they don't want to see it, right? They didn't want people to ask questions, so it's just edited out. That's what it is. So.
Yeah, so he goes on to say that he's not denouncing the writings of Father Seraphim Rose, but he believes that he could have been wrong and that if he lived longer, he may have changed his mind. So that's what he says.
Yeah, he would say that.
Well, you know what's interesting is that, okay, first of all, Father Peter Harris is with Constantinople. Now, and you can check me on this in letter 284 in Father Seraphim's letters. This is, I know it by heart, man. He says that we have broken communion with Constantinople because of the ever-increasing apostasy, but we will not rebaptize their clergy. They'll be accepted through chrismation. So he says this in his letters. So there's no indication that he would have been okay with communion with Constantinople or affirmed, Father Peter Harris' position. And there are also letters where he kind of denounces the Serbs, and the OCA and the MP and all these other communions that Platina has gone into communion with. He denounces them in his letters, and there's no indication, like, okay, as time had went on, that he would have changed that position. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense, because if he was seeing that the ever increasing apostasy justified a breaking communion in 1981. what makes us think that in 2024, as the increase of apostasy and heresy has gone on, that he would somehow go the opposite direction, in which, you know, it just doesn't compute.
Want to support the idea that Father Seraphim would undiscerningly across the board encourage people today to go to the old calendars groups. So they felt it was better for all those who had not been infected or affected by these ideas to just not have to deal with that. And so they removed it. I think it's a mistake. I told them I think it was a mistake. Leave it in and put a footnote is what I would have done. But I don't think it's the major issue that people make it out to be, because I know that, you know, most people know, first of all, and there's plenty of writings out there of his views of the old calendars. So the fact that they took it out has not impacted that. You can go find that out. Like, it's not like, oh,
I mean, the thing is that it sets a dangerous precedence, because what
You're
of the
revising the
other
words of a saint.
Yeah, like what are the other sayings of the saints did they get their hands on at this point? I mean, it's crazy. I mean,
Yeah, whatever
Right,
doesn't
bro.
agree with our narrative, we're just going to erase it and then say, you know, it was for your own good.
and this is 2008 when they joined up with the.
They joined up with the Serbs, I want to say in 1999. That's when, or 2000. It's 1999 or 2000. Now, Rokor joined up with the Moscow Patriarchate in 2007, but they had left Rokor, like I said, about 1986, 1987. So Platina, their monastery. And Father Seraphim Rose wouldn't have gone along with that. He would have stayed with Rokor, I believe. I doubt would he have stayed with Rokor during the union agreements with Moscow? I don't believe so. He's strongly disagrees with a union with them, and says that he feared that a hasty union would take place that would be detrimental for the cause of true orthodoxy. That's another thing that he says in his letters. Now that they revise his work, and like we're saying, it's like how can people have to look and dig up these things from the 70s because they refuse to release the magazines anymore. And you know, all the modern editions have these edited versions. So how, you know, to say that people will find it anyways, it's like, yeah, after a lot of searching, you know, you're leading people astray, man. You know, if you're with the truth, this shouldn't be an issue for you, you know.
now nobody will know about it. No, there's all kinds of writings about it. We've talked about it. We've written about it at Orthodox Ethos. You know, people disagree, but it's not a mystery. So the removal is not that big of an impact. Again, I think that they were motivated by pastoral concerns today. I think they should have just made a footnote, but it's pretty limited, not that extensive. I think it's just in Orthodox Religion of the Future, maybe another publication. I don't remember. Certainly there. And so it's an opportunity for the Greek calendars to say, call them out and say, you guys are, you know.
Now, a reminder,
from the
this
view
book
of the
that we're
international
talking about, Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future, there's thousands and thousands of copies sold every single day. Supposedly, you know, somebody went there and they said, we've sold up to 40,000 copies this month. That's what they told somebody. And the person that said this, he hates us, right? So he was like, and I'm so glad that none of those copies had reference to schismatics. That's what he said. And that's the crazy, you know, stuff we're dealing with, you know. And I don't know what to say. Like, I don't think that God or, you know, Saint Seraphim would appreciate that. I'm pretty sure, you know. So, oh, this is a Metropolitan Laurus of the of Rokor MP, and this is a disposition that he's having about the union agreement with the Moscow Patriarchate.
law we might be hurt or not.
Hurt, you mean that something will be done contrary to it?
No, that they might use against us.
Okay. Who is they?
The MP.
Okay, the Moscow Patriarchy?
Yes.
So the concern is that the Moscow Patriarchy may use some aspect of international law in a way that ROKOR does not agree with?
To harm us.
Now, when you say harm, harm in what way?
We will not go along or something.
Who won't go along? ROKOR?
Yes. If we will not go along.
You mean go along with the merger?
Yes. Pretty much. This is. Если мы поссоримся вдруг, объясни ему.
Can't take the Russian part now. I'll just let you know. Fingers aren't moving.
Well, what's the basis of that concern?
Might happen. Everything.
What might happen?
And we will not go along. We will start to quarrel or something, and so how we
Oh, I see. In case. I see. Okay. Okay. You have to forgive me, Your Eminence. Eventually I get there. Sometimes it takes me a little longer, but I think I'm here now.
Okay.
So the concern is that to
Right.
the extent there's a dispute between ROKOR and the Moscow Patriarchy, you would like to know how that dispute would be resolved.
Not result, but that they were not able to just kill us.
Okay. When you say you mean take you over.
Yes.
So in the context of the relationship,
He changed it. He changed it again. He finally said it clearly, and the guy says, "You mean take him over?" It's like, what?
What people
He's
don't
definitely
understand about
trolling.
this situation is the KGB was infiltrating ROKOR at this time, right? And there was talks of priests coming up dead and like poisonings and different things around this time period. And they would find like monitoring devices in the synods, like meeting areas and in like little covets and stuff. They would find these things. Yeah, so he meant kill in that situation. Yes.
Yeah, he's like, you asked me 3 times what's wrong. He's like, I told you they're trying to kill me, dude. Like, what the fuck? Like so weird. Such an odd interview.
Yeah, and he's trying to be like tongue in cheek about it, right? For obvious reasons, you know. He's not. I mean, the fact that he even said it in the disposition is pretty astounding, and the fact it's available to see, right? Because they can't deny it. You know, when you have that's the Metropolitan of ROKOR there, Metropolitan Lars. So he was the head of the ROKOR Synod. To have the head of the Synod tell you straight up, look, they want to kill us. They want, if we don't go into communion with them, period. Then you had the issue of like them wiping stuff off the web. So anything that was like against the merger or against the, capulation, wipe it off the web. Any documentation of this, and then they would flood forums and online chat rooms and different places with literal KGB agents pushing, propaganda. And we're still dealing with that. In fact, I would argue a lot of these channels are directly involved with that. That's what they are. They're either a KGB operation or in the case of Constantinople, I think there's CIA involved in that, and like I have evidence for this, and there's a direct connection with Freemasonry going on here, because there's been priests to come out to say that they were offered that to become a bishop, they would have to become a Freemason first. Whoa. And if they disagreed, they'd be deposed, or they wouldn't, become bishops. They would just stay deacons, stuff like that. So, yeah, it's an actual really crazy situation.
Yeah, he had some other video, but I think I lost it, or he like edited that out. But yeah, but that censorship stuff is crazy. But
yeah. Well, you hear about Dyer recently, right? Like he's coming out and saying like the comments of Metropolitan Carroll were heretical. Well, it's because he got caught. Remember that thing I showed you where like, the guy was like, "That's your own patriarch, you goof," right? Well, after that, he had to double down and sort of say it's heresy. Well, now you have all these apologists coming out saying that we have the same God, as Jays and Muslims, and now it's in an uproar. Now the Catholics and the Orthodox are trying to justify these comments made by their heads, their hierarchies. It's very strange.
yeah, I was following that Orthodox Muslim guy. The Orthodox Muslim?
Shahada or whatever?
No, it's a guy called Orthodox Muslim where Father Swaden went on his show like recently.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
Dang.
Yeah. So this dude had Tobias Singer on the show today. Insane. I was like, what the hell? They were ostensibly saying that Muslims and Jews pray to the same God, but Christians don't. And I was like, whoa.
Oh, no, those two do, but oh, okay. Would you
That's
say,
odd.
as a Muslim?
That's odd, right? It's like, tell that to
you wouldn't say that you pray to the same God as Jews, would you?
No, sirree, Bob.
Right. So I'm saying, like, I don't think any
No
of us
sirree, Jim Bob.
I don't think any of us who are actually what we are would affirm that we pray to the same God as the other.
Yeah, I think it's going a little too far.
If that was the case, then it would be no problem for us all to be sort of united in some way, And that's what it's leading to, I believe. It's to this like Freemasonic, deist, like, everybody has the same God, everybody has the same religion, one world religion. Where you can all keep your individual religions as long as you bow, to the Antichrist, really.
Well, I think it's like how I explained in the beginning. I think religion and science are like world consciousness. It's a world, system. Like it was a religious system that got replaced by a scientific system. The religious system had many different expressions, but the fact is that you could still take the idea of monotheism, right, and project that throughout time and say, well, monotheism became more rational over time. It seemed that way. I mean, so it seemed like it ruled out the other different types. So I guess you could say that. I think Palamas has some stuff on this. Let me bring that up. Palamas.
You've been reading him? That's cool. Cool.
No, I mean I've just been looking into a little bit, but yeah, one of the things he said caught my attention. Well, I forgot where it is though.
St. Gregory Palamas is like the epitome of understanding
Yeah, it says here. It says preserved by Philatios Kokinos of Constantinople, A.D. 1354 to 1374, in his Vita or Encomion. It says, quote, "At these words, the Christians who happened to be there, seeing that the Turks were already getting irritated, signaled to me to finish my speech. Turning to a milder tone and smiling gently at them, I said again, had we, after all, been in agreement in our dialogue, we would be of one of the same faith too. Then one of them said, there will come a time when we will agree with each other. I consented, and I wish even further that such a time may come quicker. Watch not to suffer anything like these ill-minded men. I do not mean in regard to their reverence of God, i.e., their faith in God, but rather in regard to their behavior. Take heed, therefore, not to be like them, and find yourself on the one hand confessing the virtues and the biblical injunctions are righteous, and on the other hand, with their deeds breaking away from them."
So, in other words, have some form of peace with these people, so it's not chaos with the Turks.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and he's saying that and he agreed with them that at one time there's not going to be any difference between like the problem's going to be solved one day. In other words, right? Like
Solved in blood,
I
perhaps.
don't understand what he means by soft, though. You know.
yeah. Let me read it again. It says. Then one of them said, there will come a time when we will agree with each other. I consented, and I wish even further that such a time may come quicker.
Now, when he says that, I don't think that he's saying like there will come a time where we'll have a unity in.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that one's gonna end up being right.
Right.
So
I'd say that's...
it's saying like yeah, let's if we believe what we believe, let's just hasten to that day. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
We're gonna figure it out eventually.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, that's what I took away from it. That he was saying, like, not that they're going to unify. I don't think that that's possible in his understanding. And even in the words he said after it, it doesn't seem like it's possible.
No, I don't see it. But
the fact is that he talked to those people
not to be cordial.
Yeah. That's a good point of that too. That he's talking with them. He sees that they're irritated, and he wants to make a conciliatory remark, right? To kind of like calm them the fuck down. I mean, right? So it's interesting. He's having like semi-cordial relations, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. But it doesn't go into the extreme like you'll see like the modern ecumenists sort of like signing these unity agreement documents
Shalom.
and things. You know what I mean? Like,
the guy said shalom in the synagogue.
It's not that. And, there's a proto-presbyter, Michael Pomazanski, that sort of made the claim that early on the ecumenical movement dialogues were sort of, they were justifiable in the sense that Orthodox would go there with the intention of conversion. But now it's only been, what can we, what common denominator can we get to? The lowest common denominator we can get to, sort of use each other for whatever resources we could get, So it's no more about convert, and they don't even want to talk about it because they might offend the ones that they are trying to get something out of.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there. I think that, like, obviously Paul and Muhammad are completely contradictory. I mean, you could either go with one or the other. I mean, pretty much. So,
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then with the Jews changed their religion the whole time. The Jews changed their religion till the 1500s. So you know that they don't even have the same religion. They keep on just updating their religion. That their rabbis keep saying new stuff. They keep dropping, Edom bombs, as our friend
It's forever static.
likes to say. Yeah.
And not only that, it's like doctrinal developments. Like in Christianity, we understand, and the Roman Catholics don't hold this belief, by the way, but the early church understood that, there's no such thing as doctrine as developing into some completely different religion to the early church fathers, right? It's like things might already be true that might be defined in some sense that were already there. Like they become more defined over time, but they don't develop into something contrary to what was already preached. So, I think that is an indication that the Jays sort of just make it up as they go. They don't really have any like historical basis for their claims a lot of times too, and they tend to revise things, so they'll like backtrack and say, well, maybe the Zohar was 2nd century, you know what I mean, or maybe the Zohar was taught by Abraham and Moses, and it's like, oh really,
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I hope that summarizes. I think that was, I mean that's pretty much a good end, because I started talking about religion in the general sense, and we've moved to a very particular sense. But yeah, let me try to refresh this page to see if I can fix this background thing. This is rather concerning.
Sheesh.
Okay, there we go. I got the icon with the Aristotle on the background.
Yeah, that's a trip.
With Aristotle and Plato in it.
That's on Mount Athos or something.
Yeah, they got Aristotle and Plato. I think it's got Homer too. He's like the wizard guy, But yeah, I could be wrong.
The story behind it, what I've heard about this is that at the hiring of hell, right, Plato was the first to stand up and say like something like, I didn't confess God, I didn't know God in its fullness, but I recognize the Logos now.
Is that actually Josephus too?
It might be, yeah.
Yeah, I think it might be Josephus.
Now, where this comes from, St. Justin Martyr said those that obeyed the formula or the way of the Logos or the Tao were Christians before Christianity, in a sense, because they sincerely were in search for truth. Now, they're not considered saints. That's why they don't have halos. Now, the one on the end has a halo, and that's St. Justin Martyr, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why it's like these guys are here depicted, because if you read the dialogue between St. Justin and Trifro, he makes this statement about the philosophers. I'll be right back.
Yeah, peace to the resident sleeper. Hope you're doing okay, buddy. I mean, definitely. But yeah. Yeah, but thank you, my friend. Blessings. Yeah, I appreciate you. I appreciate Truther Cop for being here with us. I appreciate all the people here. Denise, blessings. And yeah, we'll wait a second for Unseen to get back, see if he wants to say anything to these people. If not, we'll just end it. You know what I mean? and I don't want them to feel pressured anyways. But yeah, blessings to all the people. We greatly appreciate my friend Unseen Warfare. You know, guys, please go check out our conversation we had at 8 hours into the show last time I reposted. Very excellent conversation. All right. Okay, 8 hours into the last stream. I think it's the last stream we did, right? So yeah, go check that out.
Yeah, it's 8 hours in that.
Yeah, so Unseen Warfare, I mean, look at his channel. And I lose subscribers every time I stream, so crazy, man. But yeah, that's the compromise, Truther Cop. Yeah, and of course this thing right here. Where did that go? Oh shit. Yeah, it's okay. I'm not gonna do that again. Cyber Caliphate, obviously, go check it out at Cyber Caliphate 0101. So you guys could go search for that. The other Cyber Caliphate channel is now defunct. Okay, so that's gone. I couldn't access it for some reason. But yeah, blessings to you guys. So yeah, I greatly appreciate you guys. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. And,
yeah, thank you, brother.
We'll talk soon, brother.
Yeah, for sure. Blessings. Yeah.
All right,
And
later,
peace be
guys.
with you.
Easy.
Yeah, later.
You too, man. Later, Red.
Yeah. Yeah, Red, what do you got to say to these people?
The philosopher is lost in the linguist.
Oh yeah, all the time. And logic is lost in grammar. You know, ask Willard Van Norman Quine. I mean, excellent reflections he has on that in his philosophy of logic and his other ideas that he has. You know, but yeah, blessings to all the people that are here. We did a show, Philosophy of Language, one day, philosophy of math, philosophy of language. Very interesting broadcast we did. Those were some of our first little like educational streams. Right? But yeah, it's been a sad day for me, folks. Lots of pressure. King Kong standing on my back. It is what it is, folks. I mean, we got struggles, you know what I mean? But yeah, you know what I mean? I'll still be here tomorrow. Hopefully. If I'm alive, I will be here 9:15 p.m. Eastern. So you guys
This side of the sod.
Exactly. So if you guys want to come through, it's greatly appreciated. Okay, I'll be reading some of my original works and reflecting on some of Skolmowski's words. Man, the stuff that Skolmowski said right now. Excellent. Excellent reflections. I mean, he came out with yeah. So yeah, blessings. Thank you guys for joining us here on the Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And I hope you guys have clarity to see through the lies. You know, you can't kill what you can't see. And the first step to blinding somebody is getting them to open their eyes. You know, what most people think is real is flickering shadows on a screen. Okay, images of things that aren't even real. Copies of copies, folks.
The real and the shadow.
Yeah. Shadow lets you know where you stand in relation to the light. So be that little lighthouse for me, my friends. Blessings to you guys. Right? And yeah, blessings to all the people that are here. I greatly appreciate you guys. And yeah, man. I'm trying to find Fatal Bouquet. Song that encapsulates
The North Gate. Hyperbio, you'll defend Berenipo on his right flank. Now, you, Macario, may take your men to the South Gate. Polefante to the North Gate. Hyperbio, you'll defend Berenipo on his right flank. And Hector on his left. Ah, Lastene. And wasn't it of you that Creon said, trust that man with your soldiers. You'll defend the most vulnerable point. The main gate of Thebes.
I was once reminiscent of your pearl gaze. We drank for days to scratch away the burden of our ways. Chastised behind the Gorman boys, I was annoyed. Out my mouth flew a dove distorted in white noise. Many voices in my head said you have been misled. A painting contemplating death hangs above my bed. She stands with a bayonet pierced through her hand, holding a musket with a burning sense of injustice. How I crushed it with laughter. We knights of the Garter. We came sadly after in the hells of your departure. As we parted on bad terms, I made my feelings felt. Collapse your house of cards you was dealt until it melts. For this I offer no weapon of purity and protection. Under candlelight is where I write in detection. I marked where I'm scarred and gave my regards. She was once cherished and loathed in a story untold. Rejected, let go, you fell in love with your own ego. A rocking horse in the window, one step too close. And clever those who chose, knowing of the true virtue. You ran away so far, you came back full circle. I placed a venomous snake inside of her bouquet. Told her to walk this way with one foot in the grave. Turn the page, I cracked his cheekbone with my rage. The dead canary sings no more lion in a cage. I placed a venomous snake inside of her bouquet. Told her to walk this way with one foot in the grave. Turn the page, I cracked his cheekbone with my rage. The dead canary sings no more lion in a cage. I was bathed in the blood of martyrs throughout these deadly sagas. We're charging archers, many disasters that we've harbored. A father killed his 6 children in a place to frame his lover. An imperial gift to no other. I move undercover. Raise a wire, call it auction of extortion. Expose you there in disrepair, showered amongst the orphans. An age of much expected, I was salvaged from the wreckage. Come bring them to my kingdom in old rustic England. Resurrected on the battlefields, I am the new dawn. Come usher in my name silently with all guns drawn. Many ups and downs along the way, still I stay loving you. Running through, crushing you with every word that I smothered you. A fragrant disregarded in this occasion of engagement. Every variation of your statement lay complacent. Mad long from bleak house, I have roused suspicion. Come spoil me with loyalty and all that was given. In my absence, all weak hearts soon grew fonder. As I lay down my armor to restore the dishonor. We move upon the stage, setting fire to the impure. You shall adore no more of all that was once before. I placed a venomous snake inside of her bouquet. Told her to walk this way with one foot in the grave. Turn the page, I cracked his cheekbone with my rage. The dead canary sings no more lion in a cage. I placed a venomous snake inside of her bouquet. Told her to walk this way with one foot in the grave. Turn the page, I cracked his cheekbone with my rage. The dead canary sings no more lion in a cage.
To this earth in the form of a raindrop, 1 out of 7 million. So how'd I make it to this spot in an unorthodox world that I can't fully touch? Through the clearness of one eye, my visions are corrupt. Think I landed in the forest of Coldwater, Michigan. Used to shine down on humans like lost friends, evolving from a dreary place to the earth's dreary face. Teary lace can barely see over the grass blades. Cracked ashtrays, polluted pathways that emit chunks of tree bark missing from shotgun slugs hitting. But before me is death seemingly hidden by night. I see a body with torn jeans and blood spattered knives. Scaling my eyes over this demise man with silent cries. My sight's tinted red, I'm in the blood puddle, he lies. It's ungodly how these humans take lives. It's still harmony. They should burn right, but then burn out, losing Illuminati. Life's harder, like Socrates wandering in the garden. More like floating around them, killers' footprints around them. Horrific picture, astounding. My father's got the world drowning. Died with his eyes open like somebody he knew smoked them. Hoping I can help, but all I can do is just glance. No more rain dance until this globe finally understands that I give beauty, but I also birth poisonous plants. Pictures of his voice in his hands make me want to evaporate. I wish these trees could talk so rain could elaborate. It's raining. It's raining. It's raining.
Driving me insane. Driving me insane. Driving me insane. Driving me insane.
A reincarnated raindrop, filtered down from peaks and mountaintops, cascaded in the form of blocks. Life cycles faded. I appear on men's faces. Witness more than the generations of sapient races. I embody violence, the silence with no eyelids. Observing assailants and pain of the victims' cries. I rest in puddles alongside my brothers. And when I lay on branches, I observe the masses create confusion. I was born in the sky, results of white tone gaseous fusion. So when I grew, I became a lost teardrop and knew the filthiness of this drowning world would put an end to this. It's all blurred. I was burning into a world that was burning, and I refused to be a part of this negative love. So when I landed, I just marinated in the sun. Bullets cut straight through H2O with no damage. I just managed disbursement with no drainage. This world is tainted, executing my own carnage. Separate parts of me start to rise, and I prophesize humankind will understand these words when I died. Think, evaporation, holy sacred nation, open up your eyes. It's raining, it's raining, it's raining.
Driving me insane. Driving me insane. Driving me insane.
Mega, what up? You already? Yeah, I'm just trying to live comfortable, but it's hard to appear modest and humble in convertibles. Or the maybe with the curtain drew, furs a baby blue, person lady view, pearly gator shoe, early making loot like the youth on the paper route. Screw what they pursue. If shit don't bring the table food, shake a boot. High maintenance, condos with fireplaces, wine tasters, live gangsters with fly faces, five spacious, gases, Versace vases, Prada aviators waving at neighbors with crusaders. Imagine if I would've stayed sedated, and waving nickel platers at haters and catching cases, and never turned what I put on pages in the papers. I probably would've made the papers for pulling capers or making sure no bullets wasted, but what good is hatred? I was trapped on them pack corners, lacked order, cooked up in tap water, looked up to Pat Porter, etc. The black Jordans reflecting, was it worth all I invested? Indeed, my daughter's conception encouraged my exit. Wrongs I corrected with righteous ways, niggas broke, light in the haze, and sour the next man trying to make it. Time's wasted when you live fast and die faithless, oblivious to your divine nature. Lies plague us, true is freedom to find greatness requires patience. Is needed while thinking of ways to acquire paper, inspires hatred, as if love lacks motivation. Closed minds only know my math when there's open cases. Subtract that from your contact list. You just a schemer who can't conceive the depths of mega thinking is immeasurable. I'm a lyrical resurrected phoenix in a 7-speed and listening to Malcolm X speeches.
Once the police have convinced the public that the so-called Negro community is a criminal element, they can go in and question, they can go in brutalize, they can go in murder, and us come together against the common enemy. Go
in the zone like vintage penny wearing phones. Hit the block so hard I grip a pen with hands of stones. I spar with adversity, the bars of verses be so godly. I conquer serpent beasts with murking beats, and certainly putting in work for me. No days off verbally. I burn in the first degree, learn urgency, earning in the urban street. The purpose was to purchase keys and open new doors. This is real, so my words are deep.
Deep as a billionaire's pockets. Deeper than the look at my optics. Deeper than they drop wooden boxes. Next to the foxes, the Glocks by my low boxes. Blowing pot shots of Ghost Lager. God is my ghost rider. Tell promoters put toast on the show rider. If not, roll like a tire. Esquire, flyer. I keep 2 texts to fire like Spencer for hire. Never expert.
Mystery inside of how I'm gonna get mine. I'm thinking that I have so many ways
sang beautifully just now.
I sang for him, and he isn't here.
Slow down, man. Niggas just fucking rob my gate, man. Word. Fucking, yo, I'ma murder somebody.
He's changing. My man is going insane.
Wars on. Yo, on rainy days I sit back and count ways on how to get rich, son. So improve, ask my bitch, stood up late nights, build with my A lights. We can pull a heist, snatch ice and rock mics, but this rap shit got me wanna clap back the lats. How it goes, the young pesos made scratch, but in due time, soon to get mine like Bugsy. Heavy on the wrist, polo mock socks and rugbies. On flips remind me of Gucci's. Back in Union Square when Little Max Mill blast the year that was Bill. Fast forward 94, who got the bad bass? Filthiest fiends scream for more, bless me out of state. Howdy, Jake Starks is back. Niggas want work, now I'm brought back off a G-Pack. Coke rocks, flood the co-ops, living gossip. Them big lip niggas singing, the cops need to box it. Stop it, the project's over flooded with slow leaks. The fiends get, new faces get wrapped in sheets. I gotta get mine, like my own earth, bless the cheese line. Sipping on fine wines, the power of the blacks divine. Divine, waiting on these royalties takes too long. It's like waiting on babies. It makes me wanna slay these. Well, that's some garbage. So yo, God, pardon me. I need him real quick to go flow like penmanship. Me heads get pistol whip, I blow spots like horse shit. So now, talk shit it, nigga. What?
He's changing. My man is going
Rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes, the beat breaks. Force all my niggas to break, son. Styles are similar to criminals locked up with gats. Ghetto tabernacles is fucked up. I live once though, the mind stays infinite. Dabble in the clutch 9 planets in my midst while I carry to earn a decent salary. Soon get married, raise a family, but the plan will be real great. To sit up in the loft, camp stacks and max, and real cats go watch my back. But listen to the woo, son, and maintain the soul real. Starving individuals killed. I buck what's only right, leave the poison alone. Projects infested with rats, cats, and crack homes. Half of us will try to make it, the other half will try to take it. So many fake, half real, freedom bill. Born to science, my alliance analyzes wild surprises. Keeping my eyes wide to this, the unfortunate. Laying in mountains, scouting with jewelry on. Can it be the next team house the horn? Chill done, just for real ones, like the liar. I hate to have to tie the next guy up. Pay attention to 10 wings. Movements, now I'm staring you the truth. Buckle up, now who's a legend?
He's changing.
Peace to Philly, DNA, these things. Word up, dog. Word up. Sun, moon, stars, fly cars. Word up, dog.
No sunlight, more gunfights. Lost him to the street light. Street light.
Yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Blessings.
Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Shivaya, Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Om 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 Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya.
Well, here we are, 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 here we are.
I felt the wind blowing in from the north. My entire aura radiant with the force. I was never lost, forward always driving. Clouds I was flying as my spirit was crying. The sun ain't shining, but Victorian streets are grim. But they look dim, trying to act like him. We walk lines so thin on this path of death. When your whole crew of fighters trying to act like you're fresh. You're falling already, trying to battle Lewis Harper. I break down your dreams and smudge your mascara. Through the stormy weather, B-boy forever. Too many fraud charlatans out here acting clever. What I see through all these acted out sketches. Whack MCs in suits hide behind dresses. Sanctuary, you can't step to my forum, but there won't be no tears in the shadows of autumn. The shadows of autumn. I see the shadow of autumn. When we part, there'll be new. The shadow of autumn. Shadows in the silence of night, candlelight just rock. I see fallen leaves and invisible teardrops. I caught her glimpse with her wide hazel eyes for a split moment. I knew she sketched out her disguise. Sunrise, sunset on the roof with the fiddler, playing sinister to all these lost hope riddlers. I woke from dreaming to hear these violent screams. In the shade of even sparks the L for a reason. It was treason, but this season you getting done. Cause there's no escape from the powers of the sun. As the vibrant rainbow glow, I saw it all in slow-mo. Straight dusted out, listening to Perry Como. The show was strength, was in the spoken word. I keep my ciphers tight like rhino herds. So kill talking all that blah blah. What shall be, que sera, sera. The war's in the stars, planet to planet. My Jedi skills, taking out all you bandits. Step these planes, you best take caution. But there won't be no tears in the shadows of autumn. The shadow of autumn. Here we are. I see the shadow of autumn. When we The shadow of autumn. Shadows of autumn. Shadows of autumn. When we part, there'll be no tears. Shadows of autumn. I had it all planned out from the beginning. I heard the whispering as these fake frauds kept sinning. I left quiet, but no one saw me leave. Then look where I was at to hear the whistle of the trees. Round these full gentle, but you can't prevent me from rocking mines from century to century. Got my beats, rhymes and hell, so fuck you circles. Skills on stealth, so all you see is that hurt. Cause my life won't change in these weather variations. The ancients, all about the love and hope, my patience. Cause summer dies, but there won't be no fears. Just rocking on through these autumn years. The shadow of autumn. I see the shadow of autumn.